A minute?
Oh.
Okay.
1 minute.
Good morning and welcome to the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control Special Public Hearing. This is a review of the 2025-26 recommended budget. We have board members participating in person at our offices in Fresno, Bakersfield, and Modesto. We will do our best to facilitate a smooth meeting with public participation via Zoom and webcast. Before we begin, here are some important guidelines and general instructions for the meeting. Please silence your other communication devices, such as your cell phone. During the meeting, all public participants will be placed on mute by the host. Public members will not be able to mute or unmute manually. Audio for members of the public will be unmuted once they are recognized to make a public comment. After each agenda item, the chair will announce public comment. The clerk will recognize any public attendee who has indicated they wish to speak. Clerk, if we may have a roll call.
Okay, good morning. Mr. Chiesa,
Here.
Mr. Couch, Ms. Escutia-Brayton,
Here.
Ms. Lewis, Mr. McCauley,
Here.
Mr. Mendez,
Here.
Dr. Pacheco Warner, here, Mr. Pereira,
Here.
Mr. Preciado,
Here.
Mr. Reyna, Mr. Rickman,
Here.
Mr. Robinson,
Here.
Dr. Sheriffs, Ms. Nguyen,
Here.
Ms. Sheklian.
Here.
Through the chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance, and I will ask our outgoing member, Mayor Preciado, to lead us.
Salute. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Our next item is our main item. This is a public hearing for review and comment on Districts 25-26 recommended budget. We will hold this public hearing for the exclusive purpose of reviewing and providing the public with the opportunity to comment on the district's 25-26 recommended budget, set June 19th, 2025 for public hearing to consider adoption. Samir.
Morning.
Morning.
Chair Shuklian and members of the board. You're all having a great day so far. I'd like to quickly introduce this item and the process for the Valley Air District in preparing the recommended budget for the district for the new fiscal year, which runs July 1st of 2025 to June 30th of 2026. Under board policy, the first step in reviewing the recommended budget with the board is an ad hoc budget subcommittee, which is intended to help guide the formation of the budget as required under state law. And I would just want to express a lot of gratitude and just appreciation to the budget subcommittee that met last month in April and provided policy guidance for the 25-26 budget. Wanted to recognize the members that were on that subcommittee, which consisted of Chair Shuklian, Councilmember Escutia-Brayton, Supervisor Rickman, Supervisor McCauley, and Dr. Pacheco Warner. Thank you all for your service to that subcommittee. After the budget subcommittee under state law in May, which is this hearing today, your board holds the first of two public hearings and this one with the exclusive purpose of allowing the public an opportunity to comment on the budget, and there is no action by the governing board today. This hearing must be separate from the public hearing at which the district adopts the budget, which is being scheduled for June. Every year, we go through a detailed presentation to outline the priorities in the coming year and what we aim to accomplish with the budget in the coming fiscal year. In accordance with your board's guidance and direction, the budget does not entail just a presentation around financial information and the fiscal details of the budget, but also provides a detailed report of how we've put the funds this last year to use in accomplishing our mission. We identify what our priorities are in the coming year for, again, accomplishing our mission. And ultimately, it's a process that really just reflects the board's belief that we hold ourselves accountable to the funds and resources that are entrusted to the Air District and meet the public's expectations, again, in furthering our clean air mission. So just really quick, and if I can get the clicker here and maybe call up the presentation and go over the agenda here. We're going to provide a report, again, a look back to the prior fiscal year, what we've been able to accomplish with the funds that have been entrusted to us. We'll share our guiding principles for the new 25-26 budget. We'll provide a summary of the outlook for 2025 and 2026 and what we see facing us in the coming year. We want to provide highlights of the proposed budget and cover at a high level, basically what we're seeing in the proposed budget. And then I'll turn it over to Morgan Lambert, who's going to be sharing, Morgan Lambert, our Deputy Air Pollution Control Officer, who's going to be sharing all of significant projected workload in the coming year, who will then turn it over to Ryan Hayashi, who's going to speak to the, again, Deputy Air Pollution Control Officer, speak to efficiency and customer service commitments and projections in the coming year. That will then transition the presentation to Shiraz Gill, Deputy Air Pollution Control Officer, to discuss the spending plan for the very significant amount of funds that we have in our emission reduction incentive program. And then we also have, I'd like to introduce our two key administrative department officials here today, Ryan Kincaid, who's a district controller, and Mario Orozco, who's the Director of Administrative Services here at the district, who will go over the revenue and expenditure details for the budget. So with no further ado, I'm going to start the presentation this morning and really just highlight really the priority of this district, which is to provide exceptional customer service to those that we serve. This last year, we did uphold that focus and provided across the range of programs, timely and effective service to the regulated community, to the residents that we work with on a variety of programs. Importantly and related, we fulfilled or exceeded all of our state and federal mandates with respect to emission reductions and air quality measures that your board has put into place with ingenuity and creativity to minimize costs to businesses and implementing these different measures. And you can see on the slide here the various levels above targets that we were able to achieve for some of the key pollutants that we work again with all of our stakeholders to reduce, and we're again able to exceed our targets and quite a bit above our targets. We had effective engagement with residents and businesses and community groups in supporting new strategies and advocating for resources. We're in the middle of that process actually right now on both the state and federal level, and continue to work very hard in building that coalition, critical coalition, and trying to bring about those resources. We operated the most efficient and cost-effective grants program in the state, and we're very proud of that and continue to look for even further innovations in that program. We effectively implemented and enforced all of our adopted rules and regulations, and there are a lot of rules and regulations that we've had to work on over the years that do have a significant impact on those that operate here in the San Joaquin Valley, and did all of that with low administrative overhead, and again are proud of that ability here to your board's priority, focusing on continuous improvement and efficiency, that we were able to take advantage of technology and other mechanisms to keep that overhead as low as possible. In terms of results, the goal here in reducing emissions is to see measured progress with respect to air quality metrics. We have continued to see significant improvements in air quality. And I think that's super important to highlight when we continue to look for more reductions and expect more of those here again in the San Joaquin Valley. For ozone, it's one of the key constituents that we track and measure as part of our planning efforts, which is a summertime issue. We've seen significant reductions over the past 20 years or so with respect to ozone levels. And you see them right here in the slide, over 78% reduction in days over the 84 part per billion standard, 57% with those days over 75 parts per billion, and about a 50% reduction with the latest standard, the 70 part per billion level. So this is resulting in significant population exposure benefits across the valley. We still face significant challenges there, but we are seeing that improvement in every community in the region. With respect to PM 2.5, that's primarily a wintertime issue, and just wanted to note some of the improvements that we've seen there as well. We've seen a low average PM 2.5 concentration relative to where we started, about a 60% reduction from historical peak levels, which is a very significant improvement, an 85% reduction in days exceeding the 24-hour standard of 35 micrograms, a 99% reduction. So we get every so often, when we have some impacts from, whether it's wildfires or maybe an extreme kind of stagnation event, but basically have eliminated days over the 65 microgram standard. A lot of progress in increasing those good and moderate days and reducing those unhealthy days. And we're seeing, if you really break down the PM 2.5, which is a complex pollutant, some of those key components have been reduced, those really health impactful components during the winter season. That's really been a good sign that our strategies are working. And then, of course, with the latest data for this last year, we are able to show that the Valley has reached that 15 microgram standard. That's 20 years plus in the making, and a very significant milestone for all those in the Valley that have worked hard to bring about these reductions. As a critical component of your board's work to achieve those reductions, we this last year continued to work really aggressively here in the Valley to implement our latest attainment plans for both PM 2.5 and ozone. Those consisted of a combination of incentive-based and regulatory strategies. You hear a lot about this throughout the year. Just to highlight some of the examples of those, we've got regulatory strategies in place for boilers and steam generators, internal combustion engines, refinery monitoring, crude oil production sumps, just to mention a few of some of the ongoing commitments and measures that have been put into place here recently that continue to require and invest in the cleanest technologies to reduce emissions from these different sectors. Also, this last year, actually at the beginning of this year, was the beginning of the near complete phase out of agricultural open burning. We're the only region in the country who's doing this, and are proud of the fact that we've been able to work with agriculture to make this happen. It's not easy. It's still, I would say, in the middle of that, in that we are continuing to work hard with agriculture to look at alternatives. We know that it's not an easy thing when you pull a vineyard or an orchard to deal with those materials. We have a grant program that's very active in supporting that, and we're constantly looking for funding in that program. But it is something that we're able to put into place and have seen a tremendous reduction relative to historical levels in the amount of material being burned. We also are working on rule development efforts in a couple of key areas, including with agricultural conservation management practices, some of our solvent and coating rules to continue reducing emissions from those categories, as well as residential wood burning, as you heard about just recently in the last couple of months. And we also continue to make updates to the board and public on our Cleaner Act policy challenges, and responding and actually leading the nation in looking at issues like contingency measures, how to deal with PM 2.5 standards, how to deal with exceptional events, particularly from wildfires, that continue to be a major impact to our ability to attain in this region. Last year, we adopted the latest attainment plan for the 2012 annual PM 2.5 standard, and that consisted of a couple of elements in October of 2023, and then ultimately adopting the plan in June 2024. So that plan is in place and is being implemented. We also, as I mentioned before, a little bit more detail, did a lot of work to evaluate and address contingency requirements. Again, leading the country in taking advantage of the new policies that were put into place by EPA to put together an approvable package that, again, was not easy to do, but a critical element of satisfying those requirements under the Clean Air Act. As you can see on the slide, some of the things that were included in that package, EPA's proposed approval of that, and we are awaiting final action on that. And we were the first region in the country to develop an approvable package under the newest requirements under the Clean Air Act. Last year, as a very, very important program here within the Valley Air District, the permitting program for various sources that have to obtain these air quality permits. We worked with permit holders on continuing to streamline and being effective in issuing those permits. We issued over 2,000 what we call authority to construct permits in a timely fashion. As a part of this process, we conducted over 700 permitting health risk assessments to ensure that projects did not cause significant impacts to public health. We evaluated nearly 800 plans, reports, prioritization, submissions, and health risk assessments under the state's air toxics program that's under AB 2588. We processed over 5,000 emissions inventory submissions from different facilities that report their emissions to us, and that information is then made available to the public. And they responded to over 15,000 small business assistance inquiries. We actually run a very, very active SBA line here that provides rapid response to questions that come up in terms of how to navigate the permitting system. And then, of course, in support of issuing the permits that have a number of conditions on those permits, we conducted a range of enforcement and compliance assistance activities to ensure adherence to the various requirements that our facilities are subject to, and take a lot of pride in really just trying to make sure people are in compliance, first, and then of course there are inspections and at times enforcement actions that are necessary to ensure that that compliance is maintained. Last year, we also implemented, and our leaders at the state level in AB 617, which is the bill that authorized the Community Air Protection Program. There are 19 communities that were selected by CARB under this program. 4 of those are in the San Joaquin Valley, Fresno, Shafter, Stockton, and Arvin-Lamont. Very robust, active process. There are community steering committees that are primarily made up of residents in those communities. There's community air monitoring going on, and a lot of reporting on the results of that monitoring, a lot of community-driven design of that air monitoring. And then, of course, the emission reduction programs in terms of trying to deploy very innovative, very different types of measures in these communities to improve public health. The board has taken a lot of action this last year to implement and move forward these different programs that have been adopted by the board. And we're seeing significant results from that in terms of emission reductions, in terms of buy-in and support from the community and moving those forward. And so just wanted to note that those SERPs, as we call them, the community emission reduction programs, we're hitting key milestones there in Fresno and Shafter. We've actually hit that 5-year milestone. And as part of that transition and hitting the 5 years, we're moving to quarterly meetings in those communities and reallocating some of that capacity as we continue to broaden the lessons learned and work in other communities throughout the Valley. Are seeing some transitions that are happening there and are excited by the level of support and engagement that we've seen actually in these communities. I mentioned earlier the significant funding that comes through the Valley Air District that goes directly to residents, businesses, public agencies, and others to support different clean air projects throughout the Valley. Last year, we were successful again in securing new state and federal funding. You see them itemized here on the slide, everything from the $64 million from the state in the Community Air Protection Program. A big percentage actually of the statewide total comes here to the San Joaquin Valley. $59 million in state farmer program funds. We get about 80% of the statewide total directed to the San Joaquin Valley in that state program. $30 million of VW mitigation funds, about $18 million in Carl Moyer funds, and down the list here. I won't list every number here, but significant funds that we're able to then put to good use, working closely with our Valley stakeholders to achieve these projects that otherwise would be very difficult to do without there being public-private partnership on a lot of the cutting-edge technology that we support. To give you a bit more detail about this last year's success in providing these funds, again, as the most efficient program in the state, over $500 million, $525.2 million were provided to replace or retrofit almost 30,000 units out there in the Valley this last year, reducing over 22,000 tons of emissions. And that money was matched with over $530 million. So if you do quick math in your head, that's over $1 billion. The second year in a row that the total public-private investment has exceeded that $1 billion level. That's a huge achievement for the region. To give you some of the details of that here, 160 million or so went to Valley growers, again, cost shared with their own investment to replace over 1,500 ag units. About 7 million went to replace over 500 ag utility terrain vehicles with all electric models. Almost 9 million for about 60 trucks, 2 million for charger projects. About $7 million went to public agencies and universities for advanced transit, alternative fuel, and clean vehicles. So again, trying to work with our public agencies to help them be the role model and to lead in deploying these technologies. So really great partnership there with our local public agencies. And then almost $40 million in heavy duty alternative fuel infrastructure projects, given the significance of heavy duty truck emissions, just continuing to try to move the infrastructure along, just knowing that there is a lot of infrastructure challenge in the state and trying to move over into new technology there. We had nearly $60 million provided to Valley growers for almost 1,500 alternative to ag open burning projects. That covers over 75,000 acres of removals and almost 2 million tons of material that was chipped and incorporated that otherwise, in the absence of the grants and the phase out, would have been open burned. And so that's really significant. Almost $1 million this last year, continue to support the expansion of the chipping fleet. That's kind of the tail end of your board's program in helping to grow that availability of that equipment to support those alternatives to open burning. We've continued to push and have seen interest in diesel yard trucks being replaced with electric yard trucks. And that's something that I think is going to be a continued priority in the coming years. We worked with dairies to electrify and deploy cleaner technology in their operations, about $7 million this last year. We've continued to work with rail, and particularly local rail operators, to do locomotive replacement projects, about $3 million there. We actually operate the statewide school transit and shuttle bus electric bus program and deployed about $15 million through that effort. And then it's something that's really been taken off and is real exciting to see. We had almost $2 million in commercial landscaping equipment replacement projects. These are all electric technologies that are now available, commercial grade, with extra battery packs, and are actually working out in the field, and we're seeing quite a bit of interest in that for a variety of reasons: noise, obviously the air pollution benefits, and fuel savings. So I think there's a lot of value in continuing to support that effort going on. And there's a lot of money that I talked about, so I have to spend a little bit more time just outlining some of the great success we saw this last year. Again, people that are taking advantage of these funds. $14 million to repair over 2,000 vehicles through our Tune and Tune Up repair program. And we all know here just how impactful that program is to residents that can then focus on using their limited funds on other important things. You know, we bring down their fuel costs, and it really makes a big difference from an air quality and quality of life perspective. 36 million went to replace almost 3,000 vehicles through our Drive Clean replacement program. In addition to repairing vehicles, we replace vehicles as well. And then 10 million in rebates to residents for transitioning to electric vehicles through our Drive Clean rebate program. Almost 2 million went to residents for over 9,000 residential air filters. And these are critical during wildfires, but are also really useful and provide a lot of public health benefits even outside of wildfire events. And so I think we're seeing a lot of interest in that, and we reach out to communities all throughout the Valley to take advantage of those funds that we're able to bring from different sources. Over 8 million went to residents to replace over 2,000 high polluting wood burning devices. Again, with the issues in the wintertime, there's a very important component of our wintertime wood smoke reduction strategy, primarily with natural gas. But let's see a waving of the hand up here.
Just one quick question or a comment on that.
Of course.
I do read those reports you send us, so but I recognized a name who went through the program, and they said you guys were fabulous. They were just so excited about how the whole program replacing that wood burning stove was. So I just wanted to
appreciate that. Thank you. That's great to hear that feedback. And we continue to enhance the programs because I think they have to evolve over time as opinions evolve, as technology evolves. So, for example, there's a significantly increased focus on heat pumps and how do we, have folks take advantage of that technology as part of that program as well. We also saw this is one of those. I don't want to call it an old timer program, but it's been around for some time and continues to just see significant interest from residents on a per unit basis. It's not the most costly program that we run, but it's very impactful, which is the Clean Green Yard Machine, the electric lawnmower rebate program. There's other landscaping equipment as well, and tis the time actually right now for folks to be thinking about this program. With spring and maybe summer already here. I'm going to transition now away from the grant programs and talk a bit about the public outreach and engagement efforts that your board places a tremendous priority on, just given how important it is for the public to learn about the air quality challenge, what we could do to reduce emissions, how we can protect ourselves, and also just gain general public support for the difficult strategies that your board puts into place. We did work again this last year. We have a whole team that works directly and then kind of embeds this strategy throughout different things that we do. We have a lot of capacities in terms of multilingual, particularly in Spanish, but also other languages. We work very closely with schools throughout the Valley. We have over 1,000 schools enrolled in the Healthier Living Schools program, and we continue to look for opportunities to enhance that effort and make it relevant, whether it's recess and lunch and the recommendations that were recently updated, as your board heard about with Air Now, and all that is actually up and running now and has been communicated to what else we could do in terms of curriculum and science projects and some of the other areas that we continue to look for opportunities. We keep working on the tools that are available to the public and trying to communicate those as effectively. It's very confusing sometimes, I think, to the public where to get information from. You can get it on your phone. You can get it on your weather app. You can get it from our app, EPA's app, and other sources. So we continue to try to help make that as easy as possible for residents. And it's definitely a lot easier than it ever was to get that information, which is a good thing because now you can be more empowered to act based on that information. Grant funding, make sure those opportunities are made available to those throughout the Valley. There's different campaigns depending on the season, summer and winter, and things that we focus on. Social media is a huge opportunity with that continuing to grow and also evolve very, very fast, even within the social media world. So we keep trying to find opportunities within that. And then, of course, nothing replaces just direct community involvement and going to events and interfacing, talking to residents and meeting residents where they are in their own space. And that's something that we definitely look for those opportunities. And we really appreciate the board, by the way, always finding mechanisms. Just recently took Supervisor McCauley up on an opportunity up in Oakhurst, and it's the latest example of where we are very happy to go out and do whatever we can to talk about the air quality issues. We have, again, multilingual, the annual report to the community, which I'll just show off again, award-winning report that's available in English and in Spanish. It's something that we're very proud of as a great tool for the public to learn about the work that we do. And then we work very closely with media, bilingual media, whether it's events and interviews, and we're a go-to resource for the media when it comes to different air quality issues, and continue building those relationships. Talking now a little bit more about some of the other proactive measures that we take. You've heard about the new website, and it definitely have received a lot of positive response from the new website, a lot more accessible to residents. The mobile friendliness of the page, I think with about 75% of users actually using their phones to access web pages now. So having it be a mobile page, I think has made it a lot more accessible. There's Air Now is integrated into the page right on the home page, along with just easy access to different critical parts of the services that we offer. So just very proud of that. Talked about Air Now, and have developed a comprehensive strategy that we just keep every year. We keep enhancing the strategy of how to reduce wildfire emissions, prescribed burning as part of it, how the public can protect itself, the Clean Air Centers program, our work with our county public health officers, our work with the land management agencies. We just had the only of its kind meeting here in the region. Just last week, we had what we call the cooperators meeting, which is where we bring state and federal land management agencies together here at the district office to plan for the upcoming season, to hear what interests they have, their issues, how we can resolve those things. And it's why this region really leads in our ability to engage with land managers, especially as we see a lot of activity kind of in that space with recent funding developments and policy developments. I mentioned the clean air centers. We also operate the clean air rooms program. I mentioned how much funding was provided under that this last year. We look for opportunities to support local research. So we do interface quite a bit with researchers to see what we could do, whether help them bring money into the region or if we could play a technical role. We actually have some funding in our budget. So we're actually developing a research plan through the study agency that your board allocated towards some of the PM 2.5 issues and other issues. So we definitely want to be a supporter of policy relevant research. And this last year, we're able to do some of that work. We're the first region in the state to coordinate with CAL FIRE. And it's something that I think is being championed throughout the rest of the state now to streamline local burn permit issuance, the types of permits that really just help deal with some of the materials that are out there and can cause bigger issues. And so that's something that we're very proud of. And this last year really worked quite a bit to take advantage of new information technology, whether it's GIS or whether it's upgrading the VTC system. And I think the high resolution that you're seeing on the screens and there's some significant benefits that we're seeing, the smoothness of the system. These are things that we took advantage of this last year to really put into place. We've upgraded our permit system, significant upgrades to that to bring it up to speed with the latest technologies. A lot of portals have been developed for the grant programs. So we have a great in-house IT team that is always looking for opportunities to enhance our systems and provide better service to the public. So we do consider ourselves as setting the bar for excellence in government, and we measure ourselves in a lot of different ways. Whether it's fiscal, whether it's efficiency across our programs. We interface quite a bit at the state and national level, and have been the recipient of best practices in air pollution control these last couple of years for some of our key programs. This last year for the wildfire prevention and response program, we're recognized, and we had a chance to actually present on this program and saw a lot of interest across the country to pick up on a lot of the things that we do here. We were awarded a number of awards recently at the Fresno State STEP Summit, the organizational level, as well as innovative projects, and then the leadership level here at the Air District, again, empowered by the priorities of this board. So it's really just a testament to what the board puts into place with our budget and with the priorities that are established here. So we also have a high degree of staff morale, innovation. We have the STAR work culture that the board is actively engaged every year in taking a look at that work culture, which is a big part of why we're able to do what we're able to do here. We have a positive relationship with the Employees Association here at the district, and just have a wonderful staff that are able to just respond to the challenge and do all of the work that I just outlined. We, again, this last year completed successfully a number of independent program audits, and were recognized again. You heard the financial audit and got the best possible score again. And we never take this for granted. This is not something that happens all the time at every agency, and we're very proud of, and just hats off to our financial team leadership here with Mario and Ryan. They're great staff. Did a good job again this last year, maintaining our status as a low risk auditee, which means basically the best category that you can receive, with just really strong oversight and clean audits. Received the certificate of achievement again from the GFOA for excellence in financial reporting. And again, this is something that we work very hard every year with your board's direction on. And then this last year, a couple of months ago, you heard the report from the independent cybersecurity auditing firm that took a very, very close look at our security systems, and very explicitly talked about their experience with other air districts and how well we're doing compared to them. And there's some areas that we're still working on that actually they recognize where we proactively were already working on this one particular area, and just a really great opportunity to look at that independently and just make sure that we were on the right track with our security systems and are definitely in a good place there. So I will now transition over to the budget guiding principles that were used in developing this budget. These have been developed over the years and updated per board direction, and something that is really important as we develop our budget, that we have a vision for how this budget's developed. So first and foremost, we want to make sure we have adequate resources in this budget for the excellent service that we just discussed, for issuing permits in a timely and quality basis, for issuing grants in a responsive way. Time is of the essence in most of what we do. You can miss out on project opportunities if you don't issue a timely permit. You can miss out on a project opportunity if you don't issue a grant in a timely basis. We want to make sure we satisfy all of our mandates and legal obligations, again, in a timely and cost-effective fashion. We want to have full public accountability and participation. So we definitely go above and beyond the legal requirements for developing rules or plans or some of the other activities that we do here. And that's something that the board has always expected, and we take a lot of pride in that. Effective public education outreach, as was just discussed, is always important. We're going to continue to have a lot of challenges in the coming years and a lot of opportunity for getting the public involved in that. So we definitely want to make sure we maintain that principle. We need to base everything that we do on sound science and modeling, so that the strategies that we develop are actually effective at achieving their objectives, and that comes through good science. And then, of course, always continuously improving the programs and innovating in everything that we do. The Valley has unique challenges, and we're always leading in a lot of respects, whether it's Clean Air Act or some of the other measures. And innovation is key to making sure those things are successful. We employ zero-based budgeting here. This is something that we take very seriously. What that essentially entails is at a very early stage in the fiscal year, working with our executive team to reset our budget essentially, and to start at zero, to think ahead to all of the mandates, all of the work that used to be accomplished in the coming year, to quantify that, to take a look at all of the efficiencies that we recently put into place or that we'd like to see put into place, to try to shave some of the resource demands for doing that work, and really just rebuild the budget from the ground, as opposed to doing some of the other things that may be out there, kind of status quo budgeting, where you maybe add, but not maybe review some of the existing work that's being done. So it's a very exhaustive process. It's not an easy one, but it's very rewarding in terms of it does yield, I think, quite a bit of information, and a lot of what you see in the budget comes out of that process. We want to make sure that the budget includes a means to accommodate some of the state and federal budget uncertainties, and there's, whether it's reserves or other parts of the budget, it's something that we think about constantly. Right now, we're, for example, watching very closely the state and federal budgets. Are both in process. I'll talk a little bit more about that. We want to minimize red tape and administrative costs. Again, bringing the cost down, and that helps address some of the new mandates that may be imposed on us. Keep our fees as low as possible while achieving all of our objectives. We do have the lowest fees amongst major air districts, and that is a testament to the efficiencies that we have in place, because we also have the most effective programs and permit effectively, enforce effectively. And so I think that's something that you'll hear about a bit later in the day as well. But also, the part of that's advocating for resources, making sure we have resources here, and just implementing efficiencies and streamlining whenever we can to reduce the overhead. As far as a fiscal outlook for the coming fiscal year, we do see that our stationary source operating revenues remain stable, and that is one of the significant revenues that we have here at the district. We did conduct this last year, a fee evaluation, and went through a public process to look at our fees, our permit fees. And we do have later in the day consideration of fee enhancements that are before your board for consideration. And if approved, those revenues would be updated in the budget and reflected in the June budget adoption. And it is something that we take very seriously, and you'll hear more about that in the next meeting here. The state and federal operating grants are projected to be relatively stable. We do get a few funds from the state and federal government, operational funds, the 103 and 105 from EPA and the state subvention. We are watching these budgets very closely. The May revise, the governor's budget came out yesterday. There's still a lot of details to be worked out. The budget in some ways was a very high level budget. So some of the expenditures are still being negotiated. It's going to probably take until about September to work it out between the governor and the state legislature on both the Assembly and Senate side. There are some key funds in there. Some are I think okay. Some we're still trying to figure out, like the farmer program is one program in particular that we continue to advocate for, and are hopeful that we can see that funded to some level in the budget, but still a little bit early to tell, you know, how that's going to play out this year. And then the state subvention funding, that's another one that, you know, it's secure and we're okay on that front. On the EPA front, that budget is still being developed. You've probably seen some press around a White House budget that came out about a week and a half ago, and there's also the House budget. There's been some votes that have been happening recently in the House. The Senate still needs to weigh in. So we're watching that very closely. We do think that on the base funding that all the states receive, the 103 and 105 are funds that are basically provided across the country. We're hopeful that there's basically, you know, no issues with that. I think where there's going to be, I think some major question marks in the future are going to be, there are some of the one-time type programs. The IRA is one in particular, the Inflation Reduction Act. I think some of those funds are being debated and are likely to be cut, just to be frank, in the on the federal side. And it is something that we're watching, but that isn't as relevant kind of on the operational side, but it does have some impacts to the extent that in the future, we would have liked to have seen some of those funds used on some of the clean air kind of incentive programs. Just for example, I think there may be some more challenges in a much more reduced, say, federal budget. So that's something that we are watching very closely, and we'll report on that more as that plays out in the coming weeks and months. There is significant funding in this budget and workload from administration of the state and Senate programs. You'll hear about this in a bit. There's about $400 million in the budget. All of those dollars come with administrative resources that are used to pay for the cost of running those programs, and the budget does reflect that. And we do have a busy year in the coming year. Some of the strategic challenges and opportunities in the coming year are there is still a lot of need to continue our efforts to reduce air pollution and improve public health through our different plans and measures. We've made a lot of progress. We've met some major milestones like the 15 microgram standard, but we do have a 12 microgram standard, for example, that still needs to be met. We have the 35 microgram 24-hour standard that still needs to be met. We have to write maintenance plans for the standards that we have recently met, and that's what you write. That's the kind of plan that you write when you meet a standard. So it's positive in that we met the standard, but now you've got to basically put a plan in place to make sure that you maintain that standard into the future. So there's quite a bit of work that we still need to do. We've got to work with Carbon EPA to make sure our plans are approved and that we don't face the prospect of sanctions, whether it's highway funds or the permitting sanctions that can happen when you don't have approvable plans and address all the federal requirements. And we still need to get reductions from mobile sources under state and federal jurisdiction. There's been, I'm sure everybody here continues to track very closely, as we all do, the developments with various mobile source regulations at the state level. A lot of activity going on with those. And I think the real question moving forward is going to be, how do we continue to work together closely with CARB and EPA to keep moving the ball forward with whether it's trucking or locomotives or some of the other key mobile source categories. And we definitely want to, as a local agency, continue to encourage really innovative and really accelerated work to transition fleets. In partnership, of course, with all of our stakeholders. In the coming year, administering all of our incentive programs, keeping them innovative and fresh and relevant to those that can take advantage of those is continued work. And so also as a part of that, I mentioned before, is the advocacy that goes into the budget, whether it's farmer, alternatives to burning, vehicle replacement. There's a lot of priorities that your board has put into place with our legislative platform. There's a coalition that's working on these different issues. We help lead that coalition. So that is going to be one of those things where we have to keep a really close eye on that. And then, of course, with new administration, priorities change. We need to engage heavily with the new administration to make sure that we continue to advance streamlined and efficient implementation of Clean Air Act mandates. It is complicated to deal with the Clean Air Act. There's a lot of different standards that are put into place a lot of expectations. Different administrations will have different perspectives on how to implement them. It is really important that we engage and that our plans, our rules, the ones that have already been submitted, for example, are reviewed quickly, and that there's hopefully positive action on different things that your board puts into place. I'd mentioned the importance of public education and outreach. I think that we can never take our foot off the pedal when it comes to talking to the public about air quality. I know that affordability is a major concern throughout the state and in our region in particular. And so when we talk about mandates, when we talk about rules, when we talk about even our clean vehicle programs, and just the rising cost of fuel and you know how to our programs are extremely relevant in this conversation. And so I think, you know, we have grants that are available, and that's always a really helpful tool. I think as rules and plans get pulled together, it's also really important to continue highlighting the public health benefits of what, you know, why we do what we do, and you know why it's important to continue reducing emissions from trucks and other sectors. So that it's just a very complex environment. There's a lot of concerns out there in the public on a variety of issues. Air quality is one of those concerns, and I think we need to continue to find creative ways for keeping those dots connected and being supportive of their concerns, and also just trying to improve quality of life overall in the San Joaquin Valley. And then, of course, you know, we can never take our foot off the pedal in terms of being excellent or having excellence as a government agency. That's actually one of the things that is really exciting about our STAR work culture, is that continuous improvement is embedded into it, and we can't rest on our laurels on different things that we do. We recognize, you know, the diversity of opinions throughout the Valley and within the workforce here. The service is number one. You know, we set the example in different ways here internally and try to build those partnerships with other public agencies, as I mentioned. And we're very reputable across the country. I'm really happy to report that. You know, we interface quite a bit with other air quality management agencies and have built really good relationships with them. And we learn a lot from them, and they learn a lot from us. And I think that that's really helpful to ensuring that everything that we do here is recognized, that EPA does do the right thing on different policies. I think wherever we can find common ground on all these different issues across the country, I think that's always really helpful. I want to talk about just another kind of a strategic opportunity that the board and the agency here has. So just to remind the board, back in June of 2017, the board adopted the Pension Stabilization Reserve Fund as one of the proactive actions that the board put into place to ensure that a retirement system is on sound financial footing. It's something that's strongly recommended under various fiscal guidance and as a best practice. Essentially, the way it works is that every year, 1% of the prior year's unfunded liability is set aside, that amount set aside into this fund exclusively for the purpose of reducing the district's unfunded liability and kind of related costs. And as a piece of that, you know, paying, you know, the pension contributions, paying down those pension contributions as they relate to unfunded liability. So we've been in discussions with KSERA, which is the Kern County Retirement Association that the district is a member of, to take a look at the cost-saving options in using this reserve fund that the board has put into place. We think we'll have recommendations ready for June to be able to take some action on that, really with the goal, again, of reducing the unfunded liability and lowering our retirement rate moving forward, making us more sustainable, and fulfilling the purpose of this fund that was, again, put into place a number of years ago. So it's really just more of a heads up and something alerting the board, you know, it's something that we're working on and something that will, we think, make our operations more sustainable and a good fiscal move on the district's part. Now, just my last slide here, going over some of the budget highlights. Overall, we have a stable proposed budget. There's a 0% increase in this budget. It does reflect the second year of the labor agreement. So there are, you know, efficiencies built into this budget. There's a 7% salary savings. This is something that the board has approved into our budgets as something that allows us to have flexibility as, you know, peaks and valleys come into different programs. And so we do have I think, a really good stable budget proposed here before the board for action in June, again, not for the purpose of this hearing. We have a lot of workload in this budget that we are able to absorb through efficiencies and program flexibilities. You'll see some of that highlighted here in the coming slides. We have a budget that provides for strong public education and outreach, that provides for spending these funds, about $410 million in grants in the coming year, to be matched with significant funds from the private and other public agencies, and overall have adequate reserves and contingencies and a balanced budget. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Morgan Lambert, who's going to walk through more detail about what we hope to accomplish in the coming year with respect to workload. And I will hand over the clicker. Morgan, you can take it from here.
All right. Thank you, Samir. Again, Morgan Lambert, Deputy Air Pollution Control Officer. As Samir teed up, we're expecting significant workload across all of our major programmatic areas in the next year. And in the next few slides, I'll present an overview of that workload. At a very high level, the proposed budget contains over $400 million in appropriations to implement new and existing voluntary incentive grant programs that the district operates, the specifics of which will be talked about a little bit later in the presentation under the incentive spending plan. Administering these programs and spending this amount of money, though, requires an extensive amount of work. The district must partner with Valley stakeholders, agriculture, businesses, agencies, residents to identify projects for emission reductions. These are all voluntary projects, so we have to have willing partners to take advantage of the funds. We're working to continue to launch online portals to reduce paperwork, simplify applications, and improve our user experience. In addition to hopefully making the programs more accessible to those that may take advantage of it, it also helps streamline our back-end processes and removes a lot of data entry, gets people in the queue faster. So there's a lot of advantages on both sides of the equation for these efforts. Once we get the applications in-house, obviously we have to review those applications for eligibility with program guidelines, make sure they meet all the regulatory compliance requirements. We have to quantify emission reductions from all the submitted projects. And then after the projects have been implemented, we must then monitor, there's reporting that comes in, as well as conducting inspections of those projects to ensure that the reductions are real and enforceable and consistent with the goals and objectives of those programs. And lastly, on this slide, we're continuing to work to develop and launch new programs under the AB 617 community emission reduction efforts. As you recall, many of those plans that your board adopted and CARB ultimately approved have new community-focused incentive programs, and each one of those programs has to be developed and actually approved by CARB before any of that money can be used. And so we've really been at the forefront of adopting and getting those guidelines approved by CARB, but we still have some that we're working on so we can get those the goals of getting the reductions and getting the money out into those 617 communities. Last year, EPA finalized its revision to the primary annual standard for PM 2.5 by lowering that level from 12 to 9 micrograms. Currently, as that standard still sits, in the next fiscal year, the district will be conducting preliminary analyses and modeling to support attainment of the new, more stringent annual standard. To do that, we also need to identify and evaluate additional feasible, cost-effective emission reduction strategies. Most often, these are already for well-regulated stationary sources. So as you can imagine, this is a very daunting task at times to try to figure out ways to get additional reductions out of there. And it becomes really important to work with our stakeholders and seeing what potential available options there are still out there as we need to craft strategies to meet the newest standards. We must continue to coordinate with CARB and EPA on addressing mobile source emissions under their authority. This has become a lot more complicated in the last several months, but we think there are many opportunities still, especially in the incentive realm, to try to bring in funding to address some of those and get the emission reductions from these categories, perhaps through voluntary programs. In addition, we are working to develop maintenance plans for ozone and PM to ensure continued compliance with in a post-attainment environment. These plans will be required for PM10. It's our second maintenance plan. With maintenance plans, you have to do a first plan that covers the first 10 years of attainment. And then after that, you have to do a second plan that covers the next 10 years of attainment. So we're in that second phase now, and we're working on finalizing that maintenance plan, and we'll do so in the next year. We're also working on maintenance plans for both the 24-hour and annual 1997 PM 2.5 standard. So there's been a lot of progress made in 2.5, and we're at the place now where we're actually working on putting those maintenance plans together for those standards. On the existing plan front, with the adoption of the 2024 PM 2.5 plan and the 2022 ozone plan, the district is now in the process of implementing the commitments that were contained within those plans. Extensive public engagement is necessary, obviously, as we move forward with developing the new control measures included in the plans. Focus areas of these plans included residential wood burning, conservation management practices, and then contingency measures. Additional technical analyses and amendments will likely or potentially be needed as we move forward with seeking final EPA approval of these strategies and plans. And obviously, we work with CARB closely in EPA in formulating those and getting them the information they need to hopefully approve our plans. Also working hard and trying to bring together a coalition of stakeholders to identify and secure and administer the significant levels of funding that's necessary for incentive programs that are called for in these plans. There's a lot of emission reductions that come from incentive measures in these plans, and we continue to work hard to try to get that funding here in the Valley and plug it into our incentive programs and get those emission reductions. There are a handful of new state and federal mandates that are requiring the operation and expansion of both the federal regulatory air monitoring network, as well as some of the state required more locally focused networks, either community or specific fence line requirements for individual facilities or types of facilities. There will also be an emphasis at the state level to conduct additional air monitoring for prescribed burn projects, and the district continues to play a major role in working with the land management agencies in implementing and helping to conduct this monitoring to make sure that while we're getting the fuel reduction efforts that we need very greatly, obviously, in the state of California, we're also making sure we understand impacts and doing it in a way that minimizes any potential impacts to the surrounding communities, mainly in the mountainous areas. In fiscal year 25-26, the district plans to complete numerous exceptional event submittals to the EPA. Each of these, we must conduct detailed analyses of meteorology and emissions during wildfire and windblown dust events. With the hopeful end goal is to get EPA approval, and with the demonstration that these events were beyond the control and scope of our already very extensive regulatory and air quality management programs that we have here in place, and should be excluded from any attainment demonstrations that we put forward. We're also working to prepare documentation to support clean data determinations for both ozone and PM 2.5 standards with upcoming federal deadlines. Obviously, as we attain the standard, it shows on the monitors, but there's a lot of work that has to go in and actually bringing that all together as a package that then, demonstrates to EPA and to CARB that we've actually met these standards based on the evidence that we've collected and submitted. As we have implemented the PM 2.5 plans, ozone plans, and BART commitments in recent years, there are several new and existing rules which have compliance deadlines that are coming up in fiscal year 25-26. Implementation of these rules require significant outreach, compliance assistance, permitting, inspections, testing and monitoring, plan and report review, and reporting, all which adds greatly to our permitting and enforcement workload. Due to the district's expertise and to ensure efficient implementation of state and local regulations impacting the oil and gas sector, the district currently implements the state's oil and gas regulation here in the Valley. That was at the request of local industries that fall in this sector. They wanted, based on our long history of working with them, they felt that we'd be best suited based on our expertise and experience to implement the state regulation as well, and CARB agreed, and we have an agreement with them. CARB is currently amending this regulation to conform with some federal guidance and regulations. This is very much in flux right now based on everything that's going on. However, if the amendments that CAR currently is currently looking at, this will significantly increase the district's workload in implementing this regulation. And as it's a new regulation or amended regulation, obviously there's a lot of compliance assistance and work with the regulated sector to make sure they understand the new requirements and to help them be able to comply with those requirements. The state has also recently created a methane task force, which is led by the Department of Conservation's California Geologic Energy Management Division, or CalGEM, and CARB, to identify and respond to methane leaks from oil infrastructure that may happen near communities throughout the state. The district is playing a key role in this effort by offering expert insight related to state and local oil and gas regulations. Our main purpose in this group is really to hope to maximize efficiency of the task force operations within the San Joaquin Valley by participating in planning of pre and post inspection activities, and to facilitate the task force engagement efforts where these activities may take place. The district is also expecting significant increased workload in the permitting and enforcement arenas over the next fiscal year, including the need to issue or renew thousands of permits to Valley businesses, assist thousands of small businesses through our SBA process as they work to navigate air quality related obligations, to inspect and provide compliance assistance to thousands of businesses, and to respond in a timely way to the thousands of public air quality related complaints that we receive each year. The district collects point source emissions inventory for thousands of facilities in accordance with district rules and state regulations. In 25-26, the district will see a significant increase in workload under the state's criteria, pollutant and toxic emission reporting regulation, with more than 1,300 additional facilities scheduled to come online and report under the CTR in 25-26. We're also looking to update numerous area-wide inventories this fiscal year, as they're currently on the schedule to do so. In 2022, the state also made amendments to the emission inventory criteria and guidelines regulation. This regulation basically handles a lot of the types of compounds that must be reported through either the air toxics hotspots program or the CTR regulation. And as part of these amendments, it increased the number of reportable substances from approximately 700 to over 17, or 700 to over 1,700. These changes obviously significantly impact emissions inventory and hotspots workload, and we have to work to work with the facilities to understand these changes, to understand the new reporting requirements, and help facilitate as streamlined as we can an efficient process for collecting this information and then passing it on to the state. Lastly, the district is currently in the midst of a multi-year phased-in approach to comprehensively reassess the air toxic risk for all Valley facilities under the state's air toxics hotspots program. We're currently in phase 4 of this process, with approximately 1,200 facilities requiring review and analysis in the coming fiscal year. The district will also continue to build on efforts over the past few years to identify and advance alternatives of agricultural burning. We're currently in the process of implementing the board adopted and CARB approved phase out of agricultural burning in the Valley. The final phase out strategy went into effect January 1 of this year. Significant work is necessary in the next fiscal year to work with stakeholders to implement and enforce the strategy, which prioritized near-term reductions while taking into account feasibility and alternatives across different crop categories, with an emphasis on giving the most flexibility to the smallest growers that we have here within the Valley. Additionally, significant advocacy is continued and needed at the state and federal level to identify and secure funding to help aid in the transition efforts away from open burning. Many of these alternative practices can be very costly or need additional work in terms of developing those practices, and money and incentive programs plays a very vital role in continuing to make those feasible. On the prescribed burning front, the district will also be working hard over the next fiscal year to work with land management agencies to increase the use of prescribed fire and other fuel reduction efforts to reduce the frequency and magnitude of wildfires. There is a call for a dramatic increase in fuel reduction efforts and an expectation that air districts and CAR will work to facilitate that work, as while also monitoring emissions and to help minimize impacts. And as many of you probably saw in the May revised budget, there was a significant increase in funding going to CAL FIRE proposed in that the governor's revised budget to continue and redouble efforts in this area at the state. On the community engagement front, with the board established priority of strong engagement, the district is committed to working closely with Valley residents and stakeholders to help communities by forging new partnerships across the Valley. The district will be working to build capacity within communities across the Valley, share best practices identified in other communities, and leverage clean air opportunities and resources. Additional work will be needed to identify and secure federal and state funding to support these efforts across the Valley, and to work with CARB to increase flexibility in the use of existing community air protection funds to address community priorities. As part of these efforts, the district will also need to spend significant effort on the continued implementation of AB 617. When a new community is selected under AB 617, it represents a multi-year commitment. Oh, sorry, I may have got it a little bit too far ahead. I apologize. The district must work with the community steering committee to continue to understand and respond to the needs of those communities and implement the numerous measures included in the community emission reduction programs. In this next year, the first year communities of South Central Fresno and Shafter have reached the end of their 5-year SERP implementation period. That happened back in February. And the district is now shifting focus to reporting, shifting funds to make sure to other programs within the SERPs, and strategizing on how to best meet all the SERP commitments in this next coming year. On the outreach side, the district's mission to protect public health by improving air quality in the Valley relies on the public's awareness and understanding of the programs that we offer here. In 25-26, the district's clean air efforts and accomplishments will continue to be shared through enhanced public outreach and education efforts. As always, key focus areas will be to maximize the use of existing resources and technology to incorporate new outreach platforms and expand communication goals. As the public's desire for air quality information continues to grow, the district will be continuing to look for ways to enhance our public outreach and education strategies, including our public-facing air quality tools and the recommendations the district gives to schools, parents, and the general public on steps to protect themselves during periods of poor air quality. The district is committed to implementing a robust public engagement and outreach program to ensure participation from a wide variety of sectors, including Valley residents, businesses, community representatives, municipalities, and others. The district will continue to host multiple community outreach events throughout the Valley. This includes providing support, event guidance, technical information, and other resources. The district will further develop a collaborative partnership with Valley public health officers, including participation in the San Joaquin Valley Public Health Consortium. The district continues to leverage this relationship to convey public health messaging more broadly to Valley residents. And during next fiscal year, the district will continue to work with land management agencies as we pursue a variety of strategies aimed at reducing wildfires. We'll further develop our targeted public education campaigns to increase public awareness of the damage to public health that wildfires can cause, and help continue to build public support for fuel reduction efforts, including prescribed burning, that may help reduce the number and severity of future wildfires. And lastly, in terms of my set of slides, consistent with the board's priorities of using the best science and guiding our attainment efforts, the district will be collaborating with the San Joaquin Valley-wide Air Pollution Study Agency on health and scientific research partnerships and across several key areas, which I've listed here and just go over very briefly. Obviously, continuing to look at the feasibility of dust reduction strategies on land fallowed under the SGMA requirements. Continuing to evaluate and understand the evolving PM 2.5 sources and trends from implemented air quality strategies. Obviously, as we implement strategies, we need to understand the impacts that has and how it causes other potential sources of pollution to become more significant or less significant in our planning efforts. Looking at the effectiveness and health benefits from the Valley's pollutant and community level control strategies. It's always very important to both highlight the accomplishments that we've made, and also obviously tie it back to the health benefits that the Valley is seeing. Looking at improved tracking of heavy-duty vehicle emissions from mobile source regulations, looking at public health impacts of wildfire smoke on Valley communities, advancing technologies for low dust harvesting and sustainable ag disposal practices, and then lastly, exploring air quality climate change connections to identify co-beneficial strategies. I will now turn the presentation over to Ryan Hayashi, who will be discussing the efficiency and streamlining measures that will be deployed to aid in addressing the significant increase in workload.
Great. Thank you, Morgan, and good morning, members of the board. Today, I have the pleasure of sharing some of the efficiency and customer service focused efforts the district has either recently completed or are currently in the development and implementation phases, with the goal of continuing to address the high volume of existing and new workload as previously discussed, all with an eye towards continuing to provide the highest level of customer service that your board has established for our agency. The management team under your board's direction has spent considerable time and effort promoting our STAR work culture, resulting in an extremely positive working environment where employees show significant ownership over the programs. Sorry about that. This is seen through the thousands of employee suggestions that have been received and implemented, culminating in a collaborative and solution-oriented workforce. The district's zero-based budget is one of the most important tools we use to make improvements across all departments, and it's a really great example of the STAR work culture in action. Training staff plays a key role in all our efficiency efforts, and towards that end, staff receive advanced cross-training within and outside of their departments, allowing for maximum flexibility to be able to handle ever-changing and cyclical workloads. The district also strategically uses temporary staffing, which allows us to reduce costs, minimize overtime, and to address fluctuating workloads. I'm happy to report that the vast majority of documents processed throughout the organization are done electronically, including requisitions, claims for payment, permit applications, and hearing board packets using data management software. And we continue to look to increase utilization of features offered, like built-in business workflows that allow us to better track and process projects. For the first time, the district's HR team used an online system to perform staff benefit open enrollment, which was historically done in person. This new process resulted in significant time savings, both for staff and for the human resources team, while providing the same, if not better, service. The operations team developed a barcode system for large mailouts that groups documents based on company address, reducing overall mail costs due to fewer pieces being sent because multiple documents are in each envelope, and also the fewer use of paper and envelopes. It's also a customer service enhancement because you're receiving all those together one time. So instead of receiving several pieces of mail that you have to keep track of. In order for staff to be as effective as possible requires providing our supervisory and management teams with guidance and tools they need to perform their job duties at the highest level. For this reason, we are constantly evaluating and improving guidance and tools to allow them to evaluate and improve staff assignments and accountability. The district recently fully transitioned to using new public records request software, which has significantly streamlined work processes and improved and simplified tracking mechanisms to ensure all records are being properly addressed. Additionally, the new public records request system continues to expand the already extensive public information available on the district's internet site. Since the last board meeting, we are excited to report that the new redesigned website was launched, bringing a range of improvements that enhance both the user experience and internal efficiency. These updates focus on accessibility, ease of use, and improved responsiveness, ensuring that the website serves as a reliable tool for all who depend upon it. We've received tremendous feedback from end users who have shared their appreciation for the improved improved user experience. We've strengthened internal translation team to better manage requests for document translation from various district departments, using less outside contractors to perform their work and allowing us to reduce our overall costs. We are also effectively using interpretation resources for public meetings with potential input from Spanish-speaking members when requested. Being able to provide Valley residents hundreds of millions of dollars in grant funding in an expeditious manner requires constant program evaluation, including actively searching for and finding new opportunities to improve processes. The grants team has developed and implemented numerous such measures and are pursuing additional ones, including continuing looking to optimize the district's grant management system. The in-house developed software that manages all grants processed, including enhancements to internal controls, project monitoring, and streamlined claim processing for faster payment to applicants. There are ongoing efforts to improve the efficiency and customer service offered through the numerous online grant portals, including alternatives to ag burn, dry clean, tractor replacement, clean air rooms, program, fireplace, and wood stove changeout, including adding business rules to ensure all needed application information is submitted and workflow notifications to ensure projects are being processed as quickly as possible. Customer service is also very important, and for this reason, the various grant application portals have been developed to allow users the ability to view all new and historical applications, current status of their projects, submit any required reports, and submit claims for payment. Additionally, the grants team has expanded their electronic workflows to incorporate electronic and digital signatures processes, which reduce the amount of time necessary to enter into and execute these contracts. We are also looking to continue to expand the reach of grant programs to more Valley communities by doing more in-person community events, which have received considerable appreciation from community residents and community-based organizations. To ensure the quality To ensure the quality and accuracy of the nearly 50 air monitoring stations across the Valley, the air monitoring team has developed several new measures to increase data availability and decrease maintenance needs and equipment downtime, including replacement of air monitoring equipment such as calibrations and calibrators and zero air generators with the newest models that enhance remote connection capabilities, decreasing analyzer downtime and maintenance costs associated with operating the older pieces of equipment. We purchased a 3D printer to develop, test, and deploy needed custom parts for the air monitoring network, reducing equipment downtime by being able to create the part quicker than having to order and wait for the pieces to be shipped. And will allow staff to be more innovative by being able to develop and test parts to improve our existing systems. We are also in the process of implementing a cybersecurity strategy at the air monitoring stations to reduce the number of access points into district systems. In addition to the security benefits, this also allows us to remove unneeded pieces of hardware, thus reducing the level of maintenance and support needs. A new data acquisition system and remote control setup at monitoring station allows for increased control and automation of station tasks, decreasing the number of on-site visits needed. The district's air quality analysis team are using a new automated air quality data management system that has significantly reduced the time needed to perform daily quality assurance and control of data, and are currently working on adding new features to streamline processes even further. We recently completed a state-of-the-art modeling data center upgrade that will allow the district to process a high number of attainment strategies more efficiently while reducing our dependence on CARB for modeling support. We upgraded the district's geographic information system software that is providing improved data management capabilities, enhanced spatial analysis tools, more accurate geocoding, better visualization options, and increased support of 3D mapping, resulting in more meaningful presenting information being provided to the members of the public. The district's legal department is using new case file management software that is helping them automate workflows, better track legal cases, and to manage deadlines in a time-sensitive legal environment. To increase the efficiency of utilizing the district's EV fleet, we are continuing to look to install EV chargers at select air monitoring stations. This allows air monitoring and compliance staff the ability to charge their vehicles in their work areas while performing work on site. The district's finance team is continuing to enhance the online payment portal for businesses and residents, which also allows facilities to view outstanding invoices and make online payment via e-checks, debit cards, and credit cards. And we're currently in the process of evaluating new finance and human resource software solutions to provide enhanced capabilities, streamlining opportunities, and customer service improvements. Due to the size and complexity of the district's IT needs, the district has begun converting the IT network infrastructure to the current industry standard for an organization of our size and complexity, which will allow us to improve security, enhance performance, and ease troubleshooting, improve compliance support, and increase scalability. We recently transitioned to a new virtual meeting product that improves meeting security, is tailored for government use, while also providing significant cost savings. We are in the process of implementing the district's multi-site resilience plan between offices to ensure continuous operation, to meet federal requirements, to have robust contingency plans and disaster recovery. We've incorporated a centralized network management tool, including remote sites that provide simplified troubleshooting and real-time system monitoring. We recently developed and released an in-house solution for our interactive voice response system, resulting in significant cost savings. And we have begun using AI in limited circumstances, including email protection, computer programming, and are currently conducting ongoing evaluation as additional opportunities arise across all our departments. The district is using fleet management and GPS optimization software and field staff vehicles, which provides improved fleet reporting, tracking functionality, simplifies the review of route planning with the purpose of looking for opportunities for improvement. The compliance department has instituted a paperwork and streamlining initiative to identify ways to increase inspection thoroughness while reducing associated paperwork, including working on development of smartphone applications for submittal of inspection reports directly into district programs. The compliance team is also in the latter stages of development of dust control and asbestos portals that will allow for easier submittal of plans and notifications, improving customer service by streamlining the process for Valley businesses. Technology plays an important role in the evaluation of emissions from regulated sources and provides opportunities to increase effectiveness of compliance inspections, while at the same time reducing the amount of time necessary to perform inspections. This includes the use of equipment like exhaust gas analyzers, forward-looking infrared cameras, and toxic vapor analyzers. One of the best compliance tools available to us continues to be designing educational information for businesses and the public about steps they can take to comply with our rules and regulations. For this reason, the district regularly uses compliance assistance bulletins to help educate Valley residents and businesses regarding recent regulatory amendments or changes. And we're continuously looking for opportunities to assist the regulated community. Recent examples of this, we held 4 workshops for oil and gas operators. We had over 80 attendees at these different workshops to learn about not only our regulations, but the state regulations. And we walked them through the various things that they were subject to, and also provided training on how to use equipment to better look for and detect leaks and things like that. We also held one for the same industry in regards to asbestos. That's coming up later on this month. So always looking for those opportunities to educate. The Permit Services Department continues to develop efficiency and customer service enhancements, including an internally developed online public information portal that allows stakeholders access to permit-related public records, significantly reducing the number of public records requests being received. They recently completed enhancements to the web-based related tools and resources for Valley businesses to meet the requirements with the employer-based trip reduction rule, including creating a new webpage with improved ability for users to submit registrations, plans, and annual survey results. The foundation for much of the district's business is the Permits Administration System program, or PASS for short, and the district recently completed a large-scale project to update PASS and are currently in the process of developing and programming enhancements that will allow us to streamline and improve upon the existing processes. They are also in the process of further streamlining health risk assessment steps by leveraging GIS software to automate identification of rural urban areas and the most accurate meteorological sites to use. To address emission inventory requirements for the state's criteria air pollutant and toxic air contaminant regulation, commonly referred to as CTR, we have added new programming to PASS, which ensures accurate and efficient tracking of CTR applicability and reporting year by year by facility. We've added new staff interface data entry forms to streamline data inputs, improving accuracy and quality through automation. And we're currently developing a new automation process to log in emission inventory projects to reduce the amount of clerical time necessary to manually log projects and to notify staff of its receipt and readiness for processing. And another added feature for online portal emission inventory submittals that automates the creation of projects. So after our extensive zero-based budgeting process, which included analysis of all existing and new workload and the streamlining efficiencies implemented and those currently being developed, the district is proposing several staffing enhancements listed on the slide before you. The first being a reclassification of one facilities maintenance specialist to a maintenance worker. By reclassifying this position, the district can more effectively align job duties with classification standards while optimizing operational efficiency and cost effectiveness. This adjustment will create a well-structured facility maintenance team consisting of a general service foreman, a facilities maintenance specialist, and a maintenance worker, ensuring an effective distribution of responsibilities. The second proposed reclassification is one senior personnel analyst to a personnel analyst. It's being recommended based on a strategic consideration based on better meeting the needs of the district. This will also allow for a more streamlined separation of responsibilities and will provide additional advancement opportunities within the division. The last proposed reclassification of an office assistant position to a part-time legal technician is needed to address an increase in workload in the district's legal department and will provide expanded administrative support to ensure legal matters are processed expeditiously due to the oftentimes time-sensitive nature of the work. So with that, Ryan will be actually talking about the fiscal impacts of these proposed changes later in the presentation. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Shiraz Gill, my fellow Deputy Air Pollution Control Officer, to talk to you about our incentive-based strategies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan, and good morning. I'm going to shift gears here and talk about the district's incentive funding plan and the process that your board has laid out to develop and implement our spending plan, which includes close to $410 million in this budget. First, I'll go over the district's incentive-based strategies. As you know, the district operates one of the largest and most well-respected voluntary incentive programs in the state. First, the focus of our programs is to achieve the greatest amount of emission reductions that we can through all of our programs and get the emission reductions in the most expeditious manner in order to maximize the clean air benefits to Valley residents. Your board has always promoted that we be efficient with our programs, and we do so in our best to provide timely access to these funds participating in our programs, whether that means getting a deep understanding of procurement cycles of a business that wants to purchase new equipment, understanding the ag industry and their timeframes for purchasing equipment or harvesting equipment. We have a very large area that we cover 25,000 square miles, and we want to ensure that we conduct equal outreach to all the regions in the Valley so that everyone in the Valley has an equal opportunity to participate in our programs, and want to make it easy for everyone to access these programs. So effective outreach is very critical. Providing the best customer service, as you know, is one of our underlying principles, and it is imperative that we are responsive to our applicants and also maximizing the flexibility within these fund deadlines. We don't want to implement artificial deadlines and put artificial barriers in place. We want to make sure it is as streamlined as possible and easy to access these funds. We also want to make sure that we get what we call SIP creditable emission reductions. As we work towards meeting our federal and state air quality obligation and mandates, we want to get the maximum credit towards those mandates. We are always also seeking opportunities to leverage other funds and promote partnerships. One of the key tenets of all of our programs is stakeholder buy-in. The grant programs that we operate don't generally cover 100% of the costs. So we're always looking to establish these partnerships, and we're looking to leverage the funding that we have with additional state funding, federal funding, local funding, and then ultimately get stakeholder buy-in. In this manner, we're able to stretch the reach of each of the dollars in programs and make them as effective as possible. As we develop incentive programs, your board has developed some key factors in distributing these funds. Again, cost effectiveness is an important one. We want to make sure that we get the most reductions possible for every single dollar that we spend. It is important that we understand the inventory of the projects that we have in the Valley so that we can design the programs to meet the needs and demand and go after those projects. Since these are voluntary programs, we want to design our programs to ensure that businesses and residents actually want to take advantage of them. To date, the district has been extremely successful in designing programs that have broad appeal and applicability across a wide variety of sources. There are a lot of statutory funding constraints that come with these grant funds. For example, types of projects we can fund, administrative requirements that come with these funding, eligibility requirements, expenditure deadlines, other guidelines that must be met. So we have to take all these things into consideration. Another key factor is regulatory deadlines. As we're looking at these programs across the board, we have to make sure that what we're proposing works and the deadlines that are associated with these funding sources. In addition to seeking emission reductions that provide benefit in attaining federal air quality standards, the district also seeks opportunities to incentivize projects that provide direct public health benefits. A good example is our school bus program. It is not the most cost-effective program, but it does get emission reductions for more sensitive individuals like children that are exposed to toxic diesel exhaust emissions. Your board has also placed a huge priority on advancing technology, given that we need significant emission reductions here in the Valley. And through our technology advancement program, we are always looking for those cutting-edge technologies that get further emission reductions and pave the way for commercialization. For example, the Pepsi Frito-Lay zero emission and near zero emission freight facility projects, where we deploy the first of its kind electric heavy-duty trucks, and most recently working with OK Produce here in South Central Fresno, another wonderful project. The district also places a strong emphasis in providing funding in a manner that recognizes the challenges in socioeconomically and environmentally impacted communities, consistent with state guidelines. As an important component, the district engages with residents, non-governmental organizations, public agencies, and businesses in developing and administrating programs with an emphasis on community involvement. Some examples of these include the lawnmower changeout, burn cleaner, transit pass subsidy, and the drive clean in the San Joaquin Valley programs. We can't do any of this unless we have projects. So the district conducts strong program outreach valley-wide and uses a wide variety of approaches such as social media, targeted outreach, working directly with industry groups, community groups, dealer networks, and other outreach to ensure that all of our constituents, businesses, residents, ag, agencies are all aware of our grant programs. And overall, when you balance all of these factors into consideration, take everything into consideration, then we come up with a funding plan that meets your board priorities and reflects the need of the communities. So now I'll briefly go over our incentive spending plan. Our spending plan is broken into three major components. The first one is our community incentive programs, then our heavy duty programs, and then some of our technology advancement programs. We also work with our EJAG, and they provide us with feedback and recommendations on how we can target some of our incentive funds each year. Anywhere you see an asterisk is a specific recommendation made by the EJAG for this spending plan. So with that being said, I'll begin by talking about our community incentive programs. We have about $41.6 million total. The fireplace wood stove change-out program is a high priority for the Valley to reduce direct PM 2.5 emissions. We have about 10.4 million there. Clean Air Rooms program provides off-the-shelf residential air filtration devices to Valley residents. Is funded at 1.2 million. Wildfire Smoke Cleaner Centers program, which prioritizes funding of deployment of portable air cleaners in vulnerable populations during wildfire smoke events, is funded at about $60,000 at the tail end of this program. Drive Clean in the San Joaquin program is a combination of the vehicle replacement program, clean vehicles rebate program, and the tune-in, tune-up vehicle repair program with a total funding of $27 million. Very successful and popular program. The Zero Emission Landscaping Equipment Voucher Program is a program for commercial operation, and our Clean Green Yard Machine programs tailored for Valley residents. Both facilitate the transition to electric lawn equipment, are funded at $2 million and $500,000 respectively. Then we have our VMT, or Vehicle Miles Traveled program. Includes things like park and ride, bicycle paths, and video teleconferencing systems. Is funded at $500,000. Now we'll move on to our heavy duty equipment programs, which are a huge priority for us and get significant emission reductions with over $231 million allocated to the program this coming year. Generally speaking, the heavy duty equipment programs achieve significant emission reductions and are extremely cost effective. So we're continuing with significant investment in the agricultural equipment replacement program, which has been an ongoing and successful program, $133.4 million in funding there. The truck replacement program with cleaner trucks, you'll note $7.6 million in funding. And as we see electric, hydrogen, other clean fuels come onto the market, we want to ensure that the clean fuel infrastructure is available. So the Alternative fuel infrastructure program is funded at 16.2 million. Electric aggregation pumps at 1 million. The low dust nut harvester equipment replacement, which reduces fugitive dust emissions during harvest, and also NOx emissions with cleaner tier 4 engines, has been a very important and successful program. It's funded at $11.9 million. And we'll also continue to fund locomotive projects, rail car movers and switchers. They're also very cost-effective projects. Yes.
If I can ask a question about the locomotives, because I think last year order of magnitude was 2 million.
That's correct.
And this tends to be a very cost-effective. I mean, the numbers are big and you don't replace very many units, but it has a huge impact because the old engines are such terrible polluters. But where are we getting the 10 million?
Which funding source?
Yeah.
I think it's that comes from a combination of it.
It's fantastic that we're tripling.
The good thing
trying to triple the impact.
We are, yeah. And I think we think there's some new opportunities too, honestly, with the without getting too much into the weeds of the chair, just a quick response. The locomotive regulation that CARB just withdrew actually from EPA consideration was in some ways a barrier actually to working with rail companies to implement voluntary incentive programs. There was a lot of concern and posturing going on kind of associated with that regulation. So we hope that in the coming year, we can actually work closely with CARB and with rail to get more projects. This is kind of an investment, a down payment towards that. I think if there's good success in doing more, we'll have to continue to keep an eye on this and see kind of what interest comes in. But you're right, they're very cost effective. The great thing is that there's different funding streams that are available for this, everything from the Carl Moyer to the ISR to other funds. And so I think this one's a combination of Carl Moyer and ISR. We can get a little bit more detail for you on that, but that's a good thing is that it's very fundable. We think some changes have to happen. We're working with CARB on the funding guidelines to make some of these things happen, but we are optimistic that some of those changes can be made. And so I think hopefully what we see is a renewal of a strong commitment by CARB to support really cost-effective, community beneficial programs. And that's something that's certainly in the works right now.
Thanks, Amir. And just completing this slide, the emergency vehicle replacement at $500,000. So continuing with the heavy duty equipment programs, the electric yard trucks, which are also referred to as yard hustlers, they kind of moved around trailers within a warehouse. Distribution facility is funded at $1.2 million. Electric ag utility vehicles, another very successful program. We have $3 million there. And the dairy feed mixing electrification project, very successful. A lot of pieces of equipment are removed from this program and very cost-effective program as well at $2 million. The off-road engine repower programs allow you to swap out an engine in an existing piece of equipment without buying a whole new piece of equipment, funded at $500,000 there. Zero emissions forklifts funded at $2 million, and alternative to ag open burning program, which is a critical program, has allowed the transition to phasing out open burning, hugely successful, has a good amount of money, $41.3 million this coming year. So shifting gears in the spending plan to advanced technology and vehicles, we have a variety of programs. We offer about $74 million in total. Through the Volkswagen Mitigation Trust, the district has been administrating a program on a statewide basis for electric transit, school buses, and shuttle buses with $28.5 million in funding. Our public benefits grant program provides funding for zero emissions and near zero emissions vehicle for public agencies, primarily light duty vehicles such as hybrid and electric vehicles. We have $3.5 million there. Our EV charging infrastructure program allows for advancement of the EV charging infrastructure in the valley at $2 million in funding. The $8.4 million EPA heavy duty truck replacement program allows for which is 26 zero emission battery electrics, class 6 and 7 trucks associated charging infrastructure as well. A very good program there, $8.4 million. And then the Watt EV electric charging depot project is a partnership between the district and Watt EV to develop 2 state-of-the-art electric vehicle charging sites in the valley along the I-5 near Taft and Gustine. This was the largest award received in California for this solicitation, so $30 million there. And the restaurant charbler technology program, $1.6 million allocated there. There's quite a bit of work that still needs to do to advance the control technology in this area. And finally, the spending plan includes board-approved allocations of community emission reduction programs for South Central Fresno, Shafter, Stockton, and Arvin, Lamont. Total about $62.4 million total funding allocations. They're broken down into 3 main categories: community incentives, heavy-duty equipment, and advanced transportation vehicles. I've already covered a lot of these categories, so won't go into the details there. And that basically summarizes the incentive spending plan and concludes my portion of the presentation. And I'll turn it over to Mario to talk about the fiscal side.
Thank you, Shiraz. Good morning, everyone. Mario Roscoe, Director of Finance and Administrative Services. At this time, I will review the details of the recommended budget and the changes compared to last year. I will first provide an overview of the requirements of the California Health and Safety Code and the District Administrative Code as they pertain to the district's annual budget and its operating revenues. Then I will present the details of the operating and non-operating budgets. The district budget process is governed by the California Health and Safety Code, consistent with state law. The district must hold 2 public hearings as part of the budget approval process. The draft budget must be available as part of the process at least 30 days prior to the first hearing, and notification must be provided to all district fee payers. Today's public hearing is the first of the required 2 hearings. This hearing is for the sole purpose of allowing the public to comment on the recommended budget. The board is prohibited by law from taking action on the budget at this meeting. The second hearing is scheduled for June 19th, and the budget will be presented for adoption at this meeting. In addition to the Health and Safety Code, the district budget process is governed by the district's administrative code. The administrative code for the district requires the executive director to present the recommended budget to your board prior to June 30th. Your board adopts the budget resolution at the object level, except for fixed assets, which are adopted at the sub-object level. The object levels for the district are salaries and benefits, services and supplies, and fixed assets. Fixed asset capital expenditures are controlled at the sub-object level, such as computer equipment and automobiles. In your handout, you're provided copies of the 4-page budget summary reports. The first page is the appropriations and revenue summary. The second page is a schedule of estimated revenues, which includes both operating revenues on the top section and non-operating revenues on the bottom section. Page 3 presents the operating appropriations, and page 4 presents the non-operating appropriations. So as we go along, I will be referring to the details on these 4 reports. Appropriations comparison. This chart provides a high-level overview of the recommended fiscal year 2025-2026 budget appropriations. The total appropriations are $488.3 million, of which 84% or $409.8 million is the non-operating budget. The remaining 16% or $78.5 million represents the district's operating budget. The operating budget is dedicated to the district's internal operating costs for achieving its mission. Operating costs include staffing, services, and supplies and fixed assets. The non-operating budget represents incentives that the district provides in the forms of grants for voluntary emission reduction projects. Now we'll move on to the non-operating budget. Non-operating sources. This slide summarizes a non-operating budget in one table. The column titled Reserves totals approximately 155 million and includes all estimated non-operating reserves. The next column provides a detail of the new revenues, which total 255 million. And the last column altogether totals 409 million for the 2025-2026 non-operating budget. We'll now review the non-operating revenues, as the non-operating spending plan has already been covered in detail. The first line is the pass-through portion of the air toxics fees collected by the district on behalf of the state and sent to them annually. This is estimated at 70,600. DMV surcharge fees are expected to be 47.6 million. These funds are used for a wide variety of district emission reduction incentives, such as the district public benefit grants, tune-in, tune-up program, truck replacement, ag equipment replacement, and the technology advancement program. The third line there is the district's revenue for the Carl Moyer program, which is estimated at 19 million. The fourth line is the ISR and VERA funds, which is the indirect source review and voluntary emission reduction agreement mitigation fees, which are estimated at 13 million. These fees are provided by project proponents who ask the district for assistance with mitigating air quality impacts for ISR and CEQA purposes. The district will receive about 66 million in federal funded EPA DERA targeted airshed and other emission reduction programs, which are awarded to the district for the replacement of residential wood burning devices, ag tractors, heavy duty trucks, low dust nut harvesting equipment, and technology advancement programs. The non-operating interest is estimated to be about 16.2 million. This is the interest earned on the state and federal funds and varies depending on the balance and the timing of when these funds are received and spent. These funds are spent on emission reduction projects in accordance with each program's requirements and guidelines. Basically, the interest follows the principal. As mentioned earlier, 1 million of operating funds are transferred to the non-operating budget to be spent on emission reduction projects. The CEC, or California Energy Commission, funding is expected to be at 9.5 million. These funds will be used for emission reduction projects, which with grant partners for zero emission trucks and infrastructure, partners such as OK Produce and Pepsi. You see two lines for admin revenue listed here. One is the administrative fees received from state and federal government to fund administrative costs of grants and incentives. These funds may apply to more than 1 year, so any unused portion is accounted for in reserve accounts. We anticipate receiving about 12.8 million in new admin revenue. The admin fees are earned when the district spends time and resources on the administration of these programs. We anticipate earning 9.5 million in admin fees in 2025-2026 that will be transferred from the admin fees reserves to the general fund. And based on the already approved state allocations, we expect to receive over 79 million in CARB cap and trade revenues. These grants will be used for replacement of heavy and light duty vehicles, truck and ag equipment replacement, and purchasing electric buses. Slide 58, the operating revenue. This is actually, again, if you want to follow along, the schedule of estimated revenues, top section, operating revenue, page 2. With focus on the recommended fiscal year 2025-2026 column toward the middle of the page. The estimated permit fees for fiscal year 2025-2026 is estimated to be 21 million, which is 1% lower than the estimated 24-25 amount. Projected revenues for 25-26 is conservatively estimated based on actual revenues received this year. The Section 185 federal non-attainment fees apply to certain major stationary sources. These fees are estimated at $360,000 for fiscal year 2025-2026, which is conservatively estimated based on actual revenues received this year and also includes a 5% CPI adjustment mandated by federal law. The Advanced Emissions Reduction Option, or ARROW, fee is applied to facilities with boilers, steam generators, and process heaters in support of accelerating the deployment of advanced control technologies. We expect to receive about $5 million in ARROW fees in 25-26. This is $200,000 higher than the estimated revenue for fiscal year 24-25 due to recent amendments to Rule 4320 to further increase the stringency of emission limitations within the rule. Interest revenue is expected to be about $3 million. Fresno County Treasury handles the district's fund investments and provides very competitive interest earnings. For residential furnaces penalties are estimated to be $200,000 under the district's ongoing implementation of the district's residential furnace regulation. Now we'll move on to operating grants. The operating grants help the district to maintain air monitoring stations, develop air quality plans, develop rules, support enforcement, permitting, and public outreach. State subvention, EPA 105 and EPA 103 operating grants are expected to remain consistent with prior years, and revenue is estimated at $2.9 million. We expect to receive $12.3 million in state AB 6117 grants to support the district's implementation of state mandates under AB 617. This funding is included in the state's current approved budget. Next, the district is estimating $14.3 million in DMV fees for operating costs. These fees are collected for registered vehicles that are operating within the San Joaquin Valley. The grant administrative funds earned is estimated at $9.5 million. These funds are received from state and federal government on the non-operating side and then reimbursed to the operating side for the costs associated with incentive program administration, such as farmer, community air protection, Moyer, and other grant funds. Each year, the district transfers money from the operating to the non-operating budget to fund emission reduction projects. This recommended budget includes a transfer of $1 million to support incentive program implementation. This budget also includes the use of approximately $9.3 million of district fund balance. At this time, I will turn it over to Ryan Kincaid, the district's controller. He'll walk us through the changes in budget estimates compared to fiscal year 24-25 and provide further detail on significant budget changes planned for fiscal year 25-26.
Thank you, Mario. And good morning, members of the board. Yes, it's still morning by an hour or so. All right, so this morning I'm going to be discussing the district operating appropriation, and that is on page 3 of the handout that Mario was referring to. This slide here summarizes the changes in the operating budget at the object level for the total of the 3 objects in our operating budget. If you refer to your handout, the numbers I'm showing on this slide are from the budget to budget comparison column. This column shows the difference from last year's adjusted budget to this year's recommended budget for each account, and with a subtotal at the bottom of each object level. In total, the proposed operating budget shows a 0% increase compared to last year's adjusted budget. As you can see from the slide and your handout, salaries and benefits in total are up about 2.6 million. Service supplies are down about 400,000, and fixed assets are down about 2.2 million. In the next few slides, we'll go over the changes in each of these object levels in more detail. The district's salaries and benefits appropriations in the recommended budget total 65.8 million and make up 83.8% of the overall operating budget. This includes salary savings of 7%. This slide details the changes from last year's adjusted budget for salaries and benefits at the object level. So this is just the changes. The changes to salary and benefit line items reflect the implementation of the second year of the labor agreement for staff, as well as proposed staffing enhancements in this recommended budget, which I'll be discussing in more detail on the next slide. In addition to the factors I mentioned, regular salaries also reflects a projected merit step increases for existing staff. The next line represents the district's temporary help. This account is for situations where work and or funding are short-term in nature. The majority of temporary help is for the support of the district's incentive programs. The decrease of 200,000 for this recommended budget is a result of the zero-based budget process and forecasted workload for the incentive programs for next year. The district operates an after-hours on-call complaint response program to address air quality concerns. An increase of 7,000 approximately is estimated for on-call pay. Overtime, which represents hourly estimates, which are based on departmental needs and established deadlines, which will require overtime for the completion of key assignments. An increase of 3% or 14,000 is estimated for the next fiscal year. The unemployment account is seeing a minimal change, reduction of $1,700. This has to do with a slight decrease in rate. The next line shows an increase of 811,000 to the district's retirement costs. There's two major components of this. It consists of an increase of 730,000 or 4.5% due to the implementation of the second year labor agreement for staff, and 80,000 is due to the Casera rate, retirement rate increases of 0.5%. Workers' compensation appropriations reflect an increase of 85,000. The district continues to participate in proactive risk management and loss prevention programs, which has resulted in historically overall low workers' comp rates. There is $154,000 increase for cafeteria plan benefits, which is directly related to the second year of the implementation of the MOU. The following line for long-term disability insurance is reflecting an $8,700 increase, which is a result of the district's insurance rate of 9%, increase of 9%. Lastly, there is a slight increase to OA SDI, which is old age survivors and disability insurance, and combined with alternative transportation incentives for a net increase of 9,000 approximately. Okay. This fiscal impact of the position changes. This slide outlines the fiscal impact for those changes for the upcoming year, and the fiscal impact net result in net savings of $75,000 for the upcoming year. And next, let's move on to service and supplies. Overall, service and supplies are down 380,000 or approximately 4% lower than last year's adjusted budget. Many of these accounts can see significant year-to-year variations. And on this slide, I'll be explaining those accounts that have had significant changes. Insurance is up about 12%, and this has been seen across the state due to continually rising insurance rates in California. Equipment maintenance is down 36%. Previously, there was a greater need for services from our PBX vendor that are not covered by the maintenance contract. For this upcoming year, the district estimates it will be able to do most of those services with its own resources and need less time and material from vendors. Computer maintenance is up 53%. The increase in this account is due to continued investments in applications to support the district air quality tools for accurate information to be provided to residents and businesses throughout the valley. This account represents preventative maintenance necessary to ensure software and hardware are up to date to support the district missions and operations. Monitoring station supplies and equipment is also down $345,000. This account includes laboratory services for analysis of air monitoring fuel samples for PM 2.5, toxic, and VOC speciation, as well as parts and consumables to support maintenance and equipment operating in community air monitoring networks. Special district expense is up 26%. This account includes specialized services and supplies atypical to a program for which a specific account is not otherwise available. Examples are team building activities, subscriptions, and memberships. Utilities is up 21%. This increase is account due to increased rates for from utility companies in all three regions for the district. The last item on this slide is professional and specialized services, which is also down 26%. Now, this is where you'll find the majority of our service contract agreements and tends to vary sometimes significantly year to year due to the normal fluctuations that occur as scheduled projects begin and end. So this slide highlights some of the largest items for professional specialized service account with a recommended budget of $2.2 million for FY 25-26. On your handout that has the header service supplies line items, professional and specialized services contains all of the contracts that we have under this account. First, we have multilingual marketing and outreach services for $702,000. This represents the comprehensive multimedia marketing responsible for the district's highly successful education outreach campaign. This outreach is designed to generate public interest in support of our air quality improvement programs and thereby affect meaningful change in public behavior. Public engagement services for AB 617. The district continues to work with selected communities in the valley to prepare and attend community steering committee meetings. The recommended budget includes $594,000 to provide the level of support needed to implement effective public engagement for communities under AB 617. Next, we have laboratory analysis of air samples for PAMS program, $165,000. This represents contracting with a laboratory to conduct the VOC speciation analysis of air samples taken during the summer season. This data assists understanding ozone formation and development of air quality models and the development of ozone improvement strategies. The district receives funding from EPA to conduct this monitoring and lab analysis. Community outreach services for $100,000. This account represents resources to provide the necessary outreach in support of the district community engagement efforts, including interpretation, document translation, marketing of programs, outreach, mini grants, and supporting public events. Okay, so next we'll look at our fixed assets or planned capital spending. Like our professional and specialized services account, the capital accounts vary sometimes significantly due to the normal progression of projects that begin and end from one fiscal year to the next. As illustrated on page 3 of the budget report handout towards the bottom, our total fixed assets show a decrease of $2.2 million compared to last year's adjusted budget. As I did with the service supplies, I will now go over the accounts experiencing the most significant changes from previous year's budget. Facilities and equipment is down $119,000. This account funds essential office and facility improvements, including HVAC replacements, parking lot maintenance, roof system replacements, and other upgrades. The computer equipment account has decreased by $780,000. This is also due to the completion of one-time projects that were funded under last year's budget or the 24-25 budget. Video conference conferencing system has decreased 60,000. This decrease is a result of a large encumbrance in prior year and will not be required for this year's budget. Last year, air monitoring station equipment. Lastly, the air monitoring station equipment is decreased by 1.2 million. This account varies from year to year depending on program needs. Majority of these appropriations are used to support AB 617 community monitoring and refinery air monitoring. Okay. That wraps up the recommended operation appropriations. So we'll talk a little bit about the balanced budget and adequate reserves. The reserves listed at the bottom, the reserves are listed at the bottom of the first page of your handout. Based on your board's approved policy of funding the general reserve at 20% of the district's operating appropriation, this year's reserve is set at $15.7 million. To provide necessary funding for future replacement of the district's computer and VTC equipment, the district has been setting aside funding in a designated reserve for future replacement. We are proposing an increase of 200,000 in this reserve for 25-26, bringing that reserve to 400,000. The district's building improvement reserve is for future projects such as installation of solar panels in the central office. We are proposing no change in this reserve for this next fiscal year. To provide the necessary funding for future replacement of the district's state-of-the-art modeling center, which is critical to support the Valley's Clean Air Act attainment efforts, the district has been setting aside funding in a designated reserve. This year, we are also not proposing a change in the reserve. The district is, however, proposing to add $75,000 to the monitoring equipment reserve to continue to support maintenance and enhancements of monitoring stations around the Valley in order to provide accurate and real-time air quality data to Valley residents and businesses. Your governing board also has established a pension stabilization reserve fund, and following your board established policy, the recommended budget includes setting aside an additional $1,130,000, bringing the total reserve to $8,430,000. And lastly, as in past years, in addition to the above mentioned reserves, this budget contains $850,000 appropriations for contingency. In the event the district needs to use the contingency funds or any of those reserves mentioned, your board will need to amend the budget to move those funds into the appropriate budgetary account. This concludes my presentation. I will hand it over to Samir.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank once again sorry about that. Thank once again the board budget subcommittee for their service, and they had a lot of great questions and insight into the budget. And then of course the team that all worked really hard in preparing this, as you can tell, pretty highly complex budget. So with that, Chair and board members, we're happy to take any comments, and of course open it for public comment as well.
Do we have any comments or questions? Anybody need them to start over? No, I'm just kidding. Dr. Sheriff.
I actually love the budget presentation. It's a chance to hear about so much, how complicated this all is, to hear from, the folks on the ground, reviewing past successes, and upcoming actions to maintain the momentum despite momentous changes as to the environment that we're trying to do this in. So, no, I love this presentation. Thank you. We're doing so much so well. We're a leader in the state. We're a leader nationally, thanks to the staff. Thank you, staff. Absolutely. One thing that's highlighted in the budget presentation to me is the district, and I think it's a key to the district's success, is always looking for ways to say yes. And there are examples on every page, but a couple looking for guidance, having the workshops for oil and gas, We want them to succeed. We're looking for ways to make this work. Flexibility in the deadlines. We've all applied for things, whether it's through the district or something else. And, oh, sorry, you're 2 minutes too late. Rejecting so looking for ways to say yes, so powerful and so important. One thing I think would strengthen this, and I say this because this is the first budget hearing, so we have a chance to change some things. But the first mention of climate is on page 35, and it's under the research program, which I think is good and very appropriate to understand better the nexus of air quality and climate change. But I think we really need to highlight more what's going on in terms of climate and our relation to that. And we know a lot. Most of our incentive funding, most of our grant funding comes from state climate programs. We come back again and again to the climate driving the intensity and frequency of wildfires, climate driving heat as a driver of ozone formation and secondary PM 2.5. One of my big worries is a Stanford study that came out recently that supports our common sense observation. Smoke is dangerous. And the study looked at, I can't remember, it was last 8 or 10 years, but 25% of the health benefits of the reductions we've gotten in PM 2.5, a quarter of the health benefits, all that hard work, all the innovation, all the incentives, all the collaboration with businesses, with agriculture, with residents, 25% of that health benefit has been lost to wildfire smoke exposure. So this is a huge public health hit. It certainly highlights the importance of coordinating with CAL FIRE, the great work that this district has innovated in, but also recognizing as a public health agency, there's much to be gained from engaging in policies and actions that will impact greenhouse gases, because that's the driver behind this. And also remembering that public surveys show increasing majorities of the public throughout the country, everywhere in the country, throughout our state, including the Central Valley, increasing majorities of the public recognize the dangers of climate change, and I think are looking to us to be out there working on it. The vast majority of emission impacts we all understand also have impacts on greenhouse gases and vice versa. Progress to lower greenhouse gases generally is a huge help for us to achieve our air quality responsibilities and goals. So this is the first hearing, so I bring this up, really thinking that there's a great benefit. We need to expand on that one line.
Thank you. Mayor Preciado?
Sure. I just want to thank all 6 panelists. It took 6 of them to present this budget, but I have 2 quick questions. One is on page 50, and I do see funding for vehicle replacement and also funding for clean vehicle rebates. Is those 2 separate items, or is that
Through the chair, yeah. I think the question is that there are separate line items for vehicle replacements and vehicle rebates, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are definitely 2 different programs. The vehicle replacement program is the program where we work kind of hand in hand with residents to look at basically scrapping their old vehicle and then helping them get into a new vehicle, typically either a new or used EV or plug-in hybrid. The rebate program is one that is a lesser level of funding, but provides a rebate. So if you purchase a new electric vehicle, you'd be able to qualify for a rebate, but it's not the more intensive and a lot more engaged effort where you actually scrap the old vehicle and then you get more money towards the new vehicle. They're actually two different programs. And so, yeah, so just a reminder to the board as well, the vehicle replacement program is one that's coordinated and worked with our partner, Valley Clean Air Now. And so we actually will often use events, the smog events, to help guide residents into either a repair or a replacement. We'll do, as you've seen some of the events now recently, also hold events maybe in the community at a local restaurant and try to get people signed up and engaged in replacing their vehicle. That's a vehicle replacement program. The rebate would just be the online, if you purchase a vehicle, you get a much lesser amount, but you get a rebate in that case.
And the second question, it's on page 53 and talks about I believe this is the mega charging stations on I-5, gas tin, and also Shafter. It allocates $30 million, but what is the total cost? I believe it was like over like $500 million.
Yeah, through the chair again, you're correct. That project is the Federal Highway Administration funded project. Is a total of $50 million grant. So the project's underway currently. So in this fiscal year, some of that money is being encumbered, and it's going to carry on into the new fiscal year. And so that's the remaining portion of the project. And it is Gustine, I believe it's Taft.
Shafter.
Yeah, that Taft is the other Southern Valley location for that. It is in the works, and it's in the first phase right now. There's a lot of environmental clearance and other work that's going on. So it actually is an active project right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I see no other questions, so thank you. I know this is an arduous task. I joke about the length, but I think it's very important, especially this next part with the public comment, to see, for folks to see the nitty gritty of what goes on throughout the year in the budget process. So I appreciate all the hard work on that. So with that, I will open up public comment. This time is made available for comments from the public on matters within the board's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda, but this is on the agenda.
Actually, through the chair,
So,
that's a
yeah,
separate item.
That's a separate
Yes.
one, yes, okay. This is public comment on the budget hearing.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any members of the public in Fresno that would like to comment at this time? I do have one coming up.
Thank you, Manuel Cunha, President Nisei Farmers League. Excuse me, and also a member of the CAC, Citizens Advisory Committee. I want to thank the staff, everybody within the 3 district offices. This year of 12, I will say 24, but continuing on the farm tractor program. Samir, I want to commend Todd's group and Aaron Taringo and everybody. But I've had more farmers come here for help and have gotten tremendous help. And most of those farmers are in their 60s, 70s, and they were treated like they needed the help, and they helped them and didn't put them down or didn't make them go back in frustration. So your incentive program for the farmer program has been tremendous. I think the CalCan program with the change out the old car and put in a new one is a tremendous program. I've been up to some of your programs and where you're having that happen, and it's just incredible. I think the part that I would like to make a comment about was the rail. We are in communications with a group called the Sustainability Coalition of California, and it has over 250 logos, but it's the diversity of that coalition, unions, longshoremen, warehousing, trucking. But last week we were on a call with the rail people, and they are excited that the waiver was yanked and never approved because of the insanity of having an electric train doesn't meet the needs of moving cargo across this country at all. And they're looking forward, I think, Samir, for you guys putting them into a cleaner diesel, not an insane electric that you're going to have to push off the track with a dozer because you can't charge it anymore. And what do you do with that massive destructive battery? So I think in your proposal for your money, I think they're going to be looking forward to that, to work with you, the district. And I will not be, they are not looking forward to working with CARB at all. They have found that to be destructive. And so I do appreciate that if the air district's monies, and to our chair representative, is that if there could be collaboration and working with CARB to let the air district do its program with the rail, I think you'll see some great accomplishments of cleaner trains. But I do appreciate, I'm not here to support the budget, of course, I would never do that. Never, but I will work around it by thanking all of the work you've done on incentives has been just tremendous on all fronts. And I know for my farmers, having them tell me how they've been treated in their offices, it's a tremendous accolade for your staff and everybody. And thank you. And we look forward for this district to continue in doing what it does.
Thank you, Manuel. Thank you for your support.
Are there any other members of the public in Fresno that would like to comment? Seeing none, I see none online. I'll go to Modesto. Do you have any members of the public that would like to comment?
No public comments in Modesto.
Thank you. Bakersfield, do you have any members of the public that would like to comment?
No public comment in Bakersfield.
Thank you.
Okay, we have no public comment. This is not an action item. And so we will move on to item 5, which is public comment. This time is made available for comments from the public on matters within the board's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda. It is requested that no comments be made during this period on items on the agenda. The public may make comments on each board agenda item during the time allowed for public comment on that item. Attention is called to the fact that the board is prohibited by law from taking action on matters discussed that are not on the agenda. Do we have anybody here for public comment?
Any public comment on this item? Bakersfield, do you have any members of the public on this item?
No public comment in Bakersfield.
Thank you. Modesto, do you have any public comment on this item?
Thanks.
No public comments in Modesto.
Okay, I do have some online comments. Start with Connie Young.
Hi, good
Hi,
morning.
Connie.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. I'm Connie Young, Fresno resident, retired registered nurse, and volunteer with Citizens Climate Lobby, also known as CCL. I also serve on the board of the Environmental Collaborative of Central California, or EcoCenCal, which hosts our region's annual Earth Day celebration, known as Earth Day Fresno. And just to be clear, we're not commenting on the budget at this point. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So
To the chair, if I could, sorry, Connie, just real, this is Samir, the executive director here. There is another opportunity for public comment. There's going to be a regular board meeting coming up. I think you can take this comment probably in either case, but
Either time, yeah.
This is still the special hearing on the budget. I know it's confusing to have public comment on the budget and then have another, there is a Brown Act requirement to have the last public comment item here, but there is another opportunity just around the corner here on the upcoming meeting as well. So you can, I think, direct the public member to comment either now or later.
You can comment now or later or both, Connie.
Thank you. I'll comment now because I think I won't be able to stay for the second meeting. Thank you. Anyway, I just wanted to thank you for your financial support for Earth Day Fresno, which is very helpful in putting on an event of that size. Thanks too for participating in Earth Day Fresno and for telling our visitors about the healthier living and various incentive programs. Fresno City College was a very pleasant venue for this year's Earth Day celebration, and the school's Math, Science, and Engineering division was a terrific co-sponsor of the event. Well over 1,000 people learned about ways to participate in many local projects and activities that are conserving energy and reducing air and greenhouse gas pollution. Your support for and participation in this community event is very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie.
Thank you. I also have one online comment from Kevin Abernathy.
Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. You guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. So this actually does, I guess, tie into the budget now that I've thought about it. I wanted to thank Dr. Sheriffs and the district staff that accompanied a congressional tour out at Bar 20. And I thought it was fantastic to be able to highlight in the real world the great work that the district has done through incentives for emission reductions and tying it into the budget. I know that we've got pent up demand for the electrification of feeding that Dr. Sheriffs was able to witness. And I know that there was a $2 million item in the budget, and it would be nice to get some more dollars there because we've got quite a few folks that are in the queue to have that done. And those are great emission reductions that can happen in a short, timely fashion as we continue to fund that program. But really want to thank the staff for a very extensive discussion on the budget, and thank the district also for doing such a wonderful job and having customer service as the main pillar, because obviously what you're doing is working, and thank you for that.
Appreciate those comments. Thank you, Kevin.
Okay, there are no further comments at this time.
Okay, since there are no further comments, I will close the public hearing and adjourn this special public hearing. And I will call to order the regular meeting of the governing board for San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District. Good morning. Still morning. Welcome to our meeting of the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District Governing Board. We have board members participating in person in our offices in Fresno, Bakersfield, and Modesto. We will do our best to facilitate a smooth meeting with public participation via Zoom and webcast. Before we begin, here are some important guidelines and general instructions for the meeting. Please silence your other communication devices, such as your cell phone. During the meeting, all public participants will be placed on mute by the host. Public members will not be able to mute or unmute manually. Audio for members of the public will be unmuted once they are recognized to make public comment. After each item, the chair will announce public comment. The clerk will recognize any public attendee who has indicated they wish to speak. So, Madam Clerk, if we could have a roll call, please.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chiesa, Mr. Couch, Ms. Escutia Brayton. Here. Ms. Lewis. Mr. McCauley.
Here.
Mr. Mendez.
Here.
Dr. Pacheco Warner.
Here.
Mr. Pereira.
Here.
Mr. Preciado.
Here.
Mr. Reyna.
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Rickman.
Here.
Mr. Robinson.
Here.
Dr. Sheriffs. Ms. Nguyen.
Here.
Ms. Shuglian.
Here.
To the chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Our next item is approval of the consent calendar, items 11 through 16. These items are routine in nature and are usually approved by a single vote. Prior to action by the board, the public will be given the opportunity to comment on any item, consent item. Is there any public comment for the consent calendar?
Thank you. Are there any members of the public in Fresno that would like to comment on the consent calendar? Seeing none and none online. Modesto, do you have any public comments for the consent calendar?
No public comments in Modesto.
Thank you. Bakersfield, do you have any members of the public to comment on the consent calendar?
No public comment in Bakersfield.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that, I'll entertain a motion. For
Move to
approval.
approve. Second.
Okay, we have McCauley and Mendez. Roll call, please.
Okay, Ms. Escutia Brayton.
Aye.
Mr. McCauley.
Yes.
Mr. Mendez.
Yes.
Dr. Pacheco Warner.
Yes.
Mr. Pereira.
Yes.
Mr. Preciado.
Aye.
Mr. Reyna.
Yes.
Mr. Rickman.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson.
Yes.
Dr. Sheriffs.
Yes.
Ms. Nguyen.
Yes.
Ms. Shuglian.
Aye.
To the chair, motion passes.
Thank you. Item 4 is public comment. This time is made available for comments from the public on matters within the board's jurisdiction. It is requested that no comments be made during this period on agenda item 7. The public may make comments on this agenda item during the time allowed for public comment on that item. Attention is called to the fact that the board is prohibited by law from taking action on matters discussed that are not on the agenda. Do we have any public comment?
Are there any members of the public in Central that would like to comment at this time? Seeing none and none online. Bakersfield, do you have any public comments?
No public comment in Bakersfield.
Thank you. Modesto, do you have any members of the public to comment?
We do have one comment here in Modesto.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, please state your name.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Maren Pitt and I'm with the Manufacturers Council of the Central Valley. The reason I come before you today is to bring attention to the Legislative Analyst Office recommendations relative to CARB's proposed budget, relative to its proposed expansion of fee authority. While the CARB budget isn't necessarily in the direct purview of this governing board, there is a lot of collaboration and quid pro quo that goes along between the CARB's board, its policy and financial decisions, and what happens here in the Valley. CARB's budget is proposed to be $1.2 billion and adding 118 FTEs to their budget. But they're also asking in the budget trailer bill to expand with broad and undefined authority to levy additional regulatory fees. I asked that the governing board take a look at the Legislative Analyst Office review of CARB's budget and understand their concerns that this proposal represents an unjustified and excessive delegation of legislative authority to the executive branch, particularly to an already expansive regulatory agency. MCCV respectfully asks the members of this board to urge the legislature to maintain its constitutional responsibility for fee setting and fiscal oversight, especially on issues as consequential as environmental policy and climate funding mechanisms. This proposal grants CARB unprecedented, unchecked fiscal authority where it proposes a broad swath of ability to authorize its own fees under Division 26 of the Health and Safety Code and offers them a blank check. As part of the regulated industry that makes up part of California's 4th largest economy in the world, we have a problem with that. There's also no clear justification or transparency that's provided by CARB and has not demonstrated why this sweeping new fee authority is necessary. This new ask, poses risk to economic competitiveness and equity are high in terms of what it would possibly do. The CARB has sufficient tools already to address its mission, its climate goals, and those must be pursued within the governance framework that is already in place that contains accountability and prioritization. CARB unsuccessfully sought this authority under AB 916 in the previous legislative session, in which they were not successful. But we respectfully urge that you take a look at the LAO's budget, that we concur with their opposition to CARB's ask in the budget trailer bill, and that California's leadership in climate policy can and must be exercised through transparent, accountable, and constitutionally sound processes. Thank you for your attention to this matter and your commitment to responsible governance.
Thank you for your comments.
Hey, Modesto, do you have any further comments?
No further comments in Modesto.
Okay, there are no further comments at this time.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to item 5. Oh, we'll skip that one. Yeah. Which is the recognition of outgoing governing board member, Mayor Preciado.
Through the chair, thank you. This is Samir, the executive director here at the San Joaquin Valley Air District, and I wanted to maybe help kick off this recognition of a board member who I know those of you that have been on the board or those in the public who've been watching and participating in our board meetings have seen somebody who's actually been really active in the now 6 years that he's been on the governing board. It's a very long period of time. I think the mayor has seen a lot of action going on here at the board level. We've seen a lot of transition. You've seen a lot of air quality improvements. 6 years actually is a very, very long time to be in this field, and to be a very vocal member, a very positive, collaborative, and energetic member of this board who has always championed rural communities in this role, has always highlighted the importance of better outreach, of understanding the uniqueness of those communities, has always demanded, that we do better. We all do better to, to get into these communities more effectively. And somebody who I've, spent a lot of time with, somebody who served on other bodies, actually was a CSE member in the past. There's an advisory committee member, served on the Regional Policy Council, plays many other roles, and has just been a very important part of this board's work and the Air District's work over a number of years now. So with that, I just wanted to oh, by the way, I just want to acknowledge also that Anthony Lopez is in the audience, a great city manager there, City of Avenal, who's been, no, we're sure about that. Yeah, you're doing a great job over there, and somebody who's been active in helping connect resources there at the city level. Just thank you for driving all the way here to Fresno to support this acknowledgement of your mayor and our board member. We have a plaque here for you, Mayor Preciado, that I'd like to present really quickly before turning it back over to the board. It says healthier living at the top, and Mayor Alvaro Preciado with the City of Avenal, with gratitude for your service 2019 to 2025 from the governing board of the San Joaquin Valley Unified Air Pollution Control District. And so with that, Chair and board members, maybe a round of applause for your service, Mayor. I'll turn it back to you for any other comments, and perhaps we can get a few words of wisdom from the outgoing board member as well.
Okay, we will do that. Do I have, oh yes, Supervisor Pereira.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, Alvaro, it's been a pleasure to serve alongside you for your time here. Supervisor Chiesa had to leave the meeting, but asked me to, and I concur with them. So here are nice comments to you. And it's been a wonderful experience working with you and getting to know you. And what we found and talked about was how thoughtful, engaged that you always are, and your professionalism and preparedness is admirable. So we appreciate you and wish you well in your future endeavors.
Thank you. Supervisor Mendez.
Yeah, I want to congratulate you. I think you've been a great board member. Even today, you asked a very pertinent and important question, which you always do. You always are a great contributor. We have served on other boards together, and I want to thank you for your service. And I hope to continue to see and talk to you.
Supervisor Robinson.
Mayor, I just want to congratulate you. I know we'll see each other lots because we're both in Kings County together. But I will miss my Kings County colleague. You do a great job advocating for Avenel, advocating for our county and the entire airport. Thank you.
Dr. Sheriffs.
Thank you. It's hard to believe it was only 6 years ago that I was first offered a chocolate candy while sitting on this board, and it has led me down a terrible road since. But you really have been a terrific board member, and really appreciate your advocacy on behalf of rural communities, particularly. It's been said you're outgoing. I would say, given some earlier discussion today, no, you are being reclassified. And instead of being a board member, you will be an air champion at large.
Thank you. Dr. Pacheco Warner.
Thank you, Mayor. I think that definitely you leave so much legacy here in terms of what you've done and your advocacy for rural communities, and helping all of us be more thoughtful about rural communities. And also language access in all that we do. So just, you do definitely leave a footprint, and I look forward to getting emails from you and as a champion at large. So
Supervisor Rickman.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Mayor, I just want to say it was great getting to know you the last couple of years, you know, hanging out a little bit at the conferences and getting to know about, you know, your city and all. And we'll miss you. If I'm ever down your way, I'll look you up.
Council Member Escutia Bratton.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Preciado, it has been a pleasure working alongside you. You have demonstrated professionalism and just leadership in your role, not only on this body here, but in everything you do. You've represented your constituency, even not only your city constituency, but a broader constituency very, very well. And thank you very much for that. As in particular, the disadvantaged community, you have never been shy at stepping up in advocating for them. And for that, I'm particularly grateful. So gracias por todo lo que ha hecho usted. Ha sido un gran placer trabajar con usted. Le deseo lo mejor. I wish you well.
All right. Mr. Mayor?
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you all. You know, it's been six years. Time flies, you know, but it's been really an honor to be a member of the governing board. And I want to, you know, just thank staff, everybody, and you know, we'll continue to work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Everybody said it all so well, but a heartfelt thank you to you and your commitment. And as folks said, you're championing for your community. Thank you. It could be, yeah. With just me or? Oh, okay. Sure. All right. Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 6, which is a report on the District Citizens Advisory Committee activities. Mr. Cunha.
Good morning. Yeah, it's still morning. Good morning. Manuel Cunha, member of the CAC. Patricia Matthews is the chair, was not able to make it today, so I'm doing the presentation. It's in your packet. You've had a long board meeting. Samir, the executive, gave a report on the 15 microgram, and then we went into the regular rules and amendments that we have before the district. the residential wood smoke. Great presentation by the staff, and the charts are incredible. And then, of course, 617, all the great work that everybody has done on that, and reports from the various staff, and Dr. Pacheco Warner, Brian, that from ARB, tremendous, motivated young man, and he has done a tremendous job every time with the reports that come to our CAC. So if you could pass that on to him, he has done a great job. So thank you. Also in the report is the item that took a lot of discussion. It was the first time in my 22, years on the CAC that I ever seen the Citizens Advisory Committee of all three groups very upset
Those things just happen.
Okay. And in that discussion was that when CARB did its report, Michael Benjamin, who is one of the exec team of CARB, was instructed to give a report to the Citizens Advisory Committee about they will no longer be coming to our board meetings monthly because the value and the cost is too much, and that we were the only air district out of the 34s that had such a request that before this, our Valley CAC would be to give us a monthly report because of the CARB board and the stuff they're doing, and $500 million worth of incentives, and the 617 and the waivers and everything else that goes on. Pretty much told the CAC they will no longer be coming every month because of the budget problem, but they're going to hire 118 new members, and just for under the Information Freedom Act, CARB has $268 million in reserve right now that they didn't spend. So apparently, I don't know how much it costs to send a representative to speak before our board every month. I hope it's not $268 million for one person. But upon that, pretty much upset many of the CAC members from the environmental community. The mayors that are on that board pretty much said that the way that describes was that some of the staff was not respected from CARB, and that's not true. CAC members have a right to ask questions. And the next question was asked by a mayor, specifically was retaliation because of the waivers that have come down and cutting CARB's ability to regulate and force us all into electrification when that is not even practical, possible, or whatever. And when one of the mayors from one of the cities said they had to buy a garbage truck, they had to buy 2 electrics, and each cost $1 million each, and that to deal with their new clean diesel. It is the first time that I've ever, and there was a request that a letter be sent to the chairman of the board, all the board members of CARB, the Valley legislators, and the governor's office about the behavior, but pretty much told the San Joaquin Valley Citizens Advisory Committee via the board that we're really not important, and they don't have to answer our questions, and that they would come every quarter and ask. We would ask the questions every month. They would come at the end of 4 months and give us and see if they would respond or not. But I will tell you this, I have never been disappointed. The young man that did the presentation, I know him too well. Somebody asked him to do that presentation from the top level and come to us, and I know that young man, and he has to live what he told us and what went on and everything. Yeah, he's retiring in the month of May. It's over. But to have him walk away with what was said, I feel for him because he's a wonderful person. He really is. But he was directed to be, and I will use this as me making comments at the meeting, an scapegoat for the entire upper management of California Resources Board to come and deliver such a message. We are forwarding a letter that is coming from the CAC They are crafting the letter, and I want to make it sure that everybody understands from the board. The CAC is crafting the letter and putting the letter together, not this district staff or whatever. No, we're looking at our minutes, but we are crafting it so that nothing could ever be said. But I've never been so disappointed in my entire life with the California Resources Board, and to pretty much tell us to go fly a kite or jump off the cliff. But we're not going to jump off the cliff. We're not going to fly a kite, and we're going to send the letters, and the CAC is going to be even more vigilant and more concerned about how CARB spends its money and how we can take away and ruin programs, but totally disrespectful. And I feel sorry. And Dr. Pacheco Warner, if you will please relay that to Michael Benjamin. He is a wonderful person, and he did not need to be given that at his retirement of what he'll have to live with. So thank you again for letting me speak on the CAC report.
Thank you, Manuel. Appreciate that report. Okay, our next item is an action item, which is to adopt the proposed amendments to district fee rules. What? Oh, I apologize. Rusty, you had a comment?
Thank you, Manuel, for that report. I would just like to echo Manuel's comments. I also had the opportunity to speak to Mayor Matthews, and she too was greatly disappointed in this decision, as am I. I think constructive criticism is an important element to civic life. And so we need to have a consistent exchange of ideas. So I hope they reconsider their decision. Thank you, man.
Okay, thank you, Rusty. Now we will move on to item 7. Adopt proposed amendments to district fee rules. Morgan?
Yes, good morning still. Morgan Lambert, Deputy Air Pollution Control Officer. And if you could bring the presentation up, thank you. As it part of this item, I'll be presenting a proposed adjustment to the district fees, as well as the process involved in coming to the decision that a fee adjustment is necessary at this point. And this process is really critical. It helps keep us focused on streamlining and cost cutting here at the district, and also keeps us informed of any ongoing basis of any imbalances that we're starting to see in our cost versus our revenues, and informs district decisions on whether or not adjustments are necessary to make up these imbalances. Maintaining an active and effective air quality management program at low cost is a high priority for your board in the district. In fact, raising fees is always a last resort for the district. We devote significant and ongoing efforts to extensive efficiency and streamlining efforts, and in trying to ensure that we have the highest productivity in all program areas that we operate. And this attention to streamlining really pays off. We issue more permits per staff than other air districts. We do more inspections per inspector than other air districts, issue more grants per employee, and the list goes on when you compare us to other air districts across the state. We also invest heavily in technology and automation, where it can make a difference in our ability to provide exceptional service and to streamline the efforts that we do and keep costs low. And on an annual basis, as you just heard during the special hearing, we implement one of the best cost-cutting tools that an agency can employ, our zero-based budgeting process, where we essentially zero out each department's budget each year and ask them to demonstrate, based on their actual expected workload, the resources that they actually need in the coming year. There's a lot more to that, of course, but the end result is that we continually absorb new and additional state and federal mandates with existing resources that we have here, and have done so for many, many years, and have only actually had to come to your board to ask for a vote on a general fee increase 4 times since 1992, when the Air District was formed, with the last being in 2018. In terms of validation of our efforts, there's been many independent audits over the years, and we're regularly audited to examine our efficiency and efficacy, including one audit that was commissioned by local air quality advocates that compared us to the other air districts in the state of California. And that audit found that we were by far the most efficient air district operating. That audit concluded that we got far more reductions in emissions per dollar spent on staff costs, and managed it all with overhead and administrative costs more than 20% lower than those other major air districts that were compared. More recently, the state auditor's office completed an audit of the district's fees and fee setting process. The state auditor concluded that our fees were low compared to our program costs, and that we lawfully use supplemental revenue, state operating grants, federal operating grants, in an effort to keep our fees low and to make up any differences that we had there. And of course, there have been many positive audits of our incentive grant programs, our financial programs, our IT programs, or other operational programs that we have here. And we routinely receive the highest form of recognition from the Government Finance Officers Association, their Award of Excellence in Financial Reporting, which we've received for 11 straight years. So I can tell you all day about how great all this cost cutting is, but I think it really takes some numbers to show the results that it's had. On this chart right here, it's a comparison of our fee increases on a percentage basis compared to the other major air districts in California over the past 20 years. And when you look at this chart, excuse me, I think it starts to tell the picture of how we operate compared to many others in the state. Over this past 20 years, the Bay Area has increased their fees by 320%. The South Coast has done so by about 150%. San Diego, Sacramento, both over 100%. And we're down in the green on the bottom part there at about 40% over that same time period. We included the blue chart, which is the California CPI, just as another measure of evaluation. We're about half of what the CPI has been over that same time period. But obviously, percents don't tell the whole story. Perhaps back 20 years ago, our fees were higher, and so we haven't had to raise our fees as much over these years. But that's not the case, as I'll show in the next slide. This right here is a comparison of annual permit fee renewals. Again, it's for a host of different categories. This is very common equipment that facilities may have permits for here throughout the valley, as well as in adjacent air districts as well. And as you can see, kind of across the board, the fees for an annual permit renewal are very much more modest here in the valley than they are if a similar operation operating in these other air districts. So having set the table, let me talk a little bit about the process that we've gone through to assess our ongoing revenues and expenditures. This is something that we do to some degree every single year as we're going through our budgeting process. Some years it gets a little bit more involved when we think these imbalances are starting to pop up, and that was the case this year. As you remember, we came to your board, I believe it was back in February, and kind of talked about this process. As we always do, we're always looking for continuous improvement and input from your board on how we go about our processes. And so we came and presented this process and then asked for your input before kicking off a full public process. The first thing we do, obviously, is we estimate our ongoing and future workload for existing and anticipated mandates. We estimate and identify and implement any cost-saving measures through efficiency improvements that we think we can come and deploy to these mandates. We develop estimates for all program costs, services, supplies, fixed assets, obviously. We employ our zero-based budgeting procedures to ensure execution of all the mandates at the lowest possible cost. As you saw during this year, we're showing an overall increase, a 0% change in our budget year to year. We also assess all the revenue that's available from our existing fees, external funding sources that we have. And then lastly, if we decide that we think it's necessary to consider a fee increase, we go through a full public process holding workshops to get feedback and obviously before we come to your board as we are today with a recommendation for consideration. Now, the next several slides are focused on workload mandates and efficiency, but as a demonstration of our continuous pursuit of cost cutting, I'm going to go ahead and streamline all of these out just because we just had a very robust discussion during our budgeting process. So I'm going to skip ahead to slide 21 if you're following along in your packets. I also recognize that as I often do, I find myself as the last major presentation right before lunch. So So with that, in spite of all the streamlining and efficiency efforts that were presented during the budget presentation and in which I just skipped over in this prior slides, the district is facing some program costs that are exceeding our revenues at this point. On average, our fees are only covering about 61% of our programmatic costs in the programs that are funded by our fees. It's important to note that we do not aim to have our fees completely cover the cost. Fees are used in conjunction with other supplemental revenue sources, such as state and federal operating grants to fund our full program. But however, as we're currently at this 61%, and as this has actually been trending down since our last fee increase 7 years or so ago, we felt it time and necessary now to come forward with a recommendation. So at this point, we are proposing a fee adjustment to partially defray the increase in costs we have seen since our last fee increase in 2018. We're proposing to implement the adjustment through a phased-in approach. With an 8% increase to most of the district's permit-related fees in this year and another 8% next year, with the combination bringing in about $2.5 million in additional revenue over those 2 years. The use of supplemental revenue sources and additional cost cutting through the district's budgeting process is expected to cover the remaining shortfall to ensure the district has sufficient funds to cover the cost of the mandated programs while continuing to provide the high level of service expected by our governing board of stakeholders. So obviously, when we go through this process, it's very important as we look at what we can cut or what we need fees to. It's always with the eye of how do we provide the best service possible to our stakeholders. And I think as you routinely hear, stakeholders are very satisfied with the level of service that we provide. So after these adjustments, we will still have by far the lowest permitting fees of any of the major air districts, and will still be well below CPI when looked at over the last 20 years. So this table right here is just an updated table of our annual permit fees. It includes what these fees would look like after the fee increase in the next 2 years. As you can see, the story remains the same. We'll still be well below all the other major air districts throughout California when you compare the fees. So in summary, this proposed fee increase is necessary to reduce the operating deficit, but it won't eliminate it. Continued and intensive streamlining and efficiency efforts, along with the use of supplemental revenues, will be required to balance the district's costs and revenues. And at the end of the day, the San Joaquin Valley will continue to have the lowest permitting fees of any of the other major air districts in California. We have attached and included links. The proposal will be for most of our permitting rules. There are some exceptions, which I'll just go over really quickly, that will not be included in the fee rule. One is our ag burn fee rule. We're not proposing any increase to that currently right now. Through our assessment, we have determined that these fees are adequate to cover our program costs right now, especially in light of the fact that we're in this phase out process right now and this program is ramping down. On Rule 3100, which is a CEQA fee, this fee is when we must prepare an environmental document under CEQA when we in fact become the lead agency or having to do some cleanup work under CEQA. It's very rare that we have to do this. This is we pay for directly pay for our time in this or charge for our time in this, and so it's we think the current fee mechanism is sufficient here. We currently receive targeted state money to implement the California oil and gas regulation and to facilitate the use of prescribed fire as a method to combat wildfires. As such, there is no need currently to adjust fee rules 3156 and 3160 at this time, which basically would cover our costs in light of the fact if we did not get those state revenues. The next several rules here are related to federally mandated ozone non-attainment fees, 3170 through 3173. The fees for these programs are all actually mandated in the Federal Clean Air Act. We don't have any discretion to change these fees, and so there's no proposed changes here. And then lastly on this slide is Rule 3200, which is a petroleum refinery community air monitoring fee. This implemented a state law that was passed a few years ago. It's a recent fee that we're in progress of implementing these requirements, and so as it was adopted recently, we don't see any need to adjust it at this time. In terms of the public rulemaking process, after we came to your board back in February, we held a public workshop on March 26th with draft rules published prior to the workshop. We also had provided notice of this hearing, and proposed rule amendments were published on 30 days before April 15th of this year. We've also discussed the need and the process of this fee adjustment at a variety of public meetings, including permit stakeholders. There's been many opportunities for the public input throughout our entire rule development process. And to date, we have received no comments on the proposed rules at any time during the rulemaking process. So with that today, we would ask and recommend that that you adopt the proposed amendments to the Regulation 3 fee rules that are in your packet, and authorize the chair to sign the attached resolution. And we're available for any comments you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Morgan. Any comments or questions for Morgan? Okay, buddy? That's all right. You don't have to do that.
Didn't press my deal if I turn it off. You know, on the petroleum refinery, do we even have one? Are we down to like one?
We have 3 currently right now.
They're still in Kern County.
Yes.
But the total production is like way less than what it was 20 years ago, I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. That's why we're going to see $8 gas in the state. Is it going to close? If something happens, the 2 biggest refineries are not in our air district, but
yeah,
what a great country. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, buddy. Dr. Sheriffs.
Thank you, and thank you for that summary report. It certainly seems 7 years on, time to look at this again, and it's something we'd rather not have to do, but it's important to do, and it's important that, particularly as funding gets tighter or more uncertain, we have to be more careful with what we've got. So it seems like a very appropriate approach, and I think I missed. Well, we certainly don't want to have a huge increase. One hit. That's not something that's helpful for businesses. This is good because it's helping people plan that this is coming. I'm also presuming that we need to continue to look at this because 27, 28, we don't know, and may need to make adjustments then or not as well.
Through the chair, I just want to say, like, yes, that's certainly part of our ongoing commitment through the zero-based budgeting process, and in light of all we look at that environment every single year, and I think just wanted to respond that it's something we definitely would do.
Thank you. All right, this is, I see no more questions. There is action on this item, but first, is there any public comment?
Do we have any members of the public in Fresno that would like to comment on this item? Seeing none and none online. Bakersfield, do you have any public comments?
No public comment in Bakersfield.
Thank you. Modesto, do you have any public comments?
No public comments in Modesto.
No further comments.
Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion. Mayor Preciado's last motion, second by Dr. Sheriff. Roll call, please.
Okay, Mrs. Gutierrez-Braden.
Aye.
Mr. McCauley?
Yes.
Mr. Mendez?
Yes.
Dr. Pacheco Warner? Mr. Pereira?
Aye.
Mr. Preciado?
Yes.
Mr. Reyna?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Rickman?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Dr. Sheriffs?
Yes.
Ms. Nguyen?
Yes.
Ms. Shuklian?
Aye.
Through the chair, motion passes.
Thank you. Our next item is a verbal report on the California Air Resources Board activities, as if we don't know some of them.
Yeah, I think. Thank you all. I think that the main thing here is that continue to communicate with CARB leadership and staff around our ongoing relationship and how we all work together. It's not, personalities don't help anybody breathe any easier. So thank you.
Okay, Executive Director report.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of quick things. Wanted to let the board know that the Special City Selection Committee met in the last week or so. I want to thank Councilmember Lewis, Councilmember Nguyen, and Mayor Preciado for their participation in that. The committee did appoint Madera City Councilmember Jose Rodriguez to the board to fill in the soon-to-be vacant seat, and is somebody that I think a lot of the board members know him from other worlds, and just wanted to congratulate him, and you'll be seeing him at the June board meeting. I also wanted to note that the English version of the annual report has arrived, and I've got a copy of it right here to show off. It's available in all the regions. Let me know if you need additional copies. We'll get them out to you, and it has been translated into Spanish, and it's currently being printed, and we will get that version out to you as soon as it arrives. And that was actually one of Mayor Preciado's ideas, actually, when he was on the board. So I want to note that as well. Lastly, just wanted to mention a couple of things on the federal level. I recently had the opportunity to meet with the new Region 9 Administrator, Josh Cook, to try to build the relationship with EPA Region 9 and communicate our needs, our challenges, and hopefully look for some opportunities to work with EPA Region 9 over the next couple of years. Also had an opportunity to meet with the new air administrator on a national level, Aaron Sabo. And we also similarly discussed, again, the Valley's history, its unique needs and challenges, and the real need for EPA to support the work that we're doing here. Kind of on that same sort of general note, there is a potential trip here around the corner that is being organized with myself and a couple of key staff, and then with Vice Chair McCauley, to try to continue to build those relationships with EPA and other agencies and the Valley delegation and others back to DC. So I just wanted to note that that'll be, assuming everything goes as planned, that would be in late June. So I just wanted to note that as well, and happy to take any questions or comments.
Any questions for Samir? Okay, then we will move on. Are there any more governing board member comments? Yes, Bobby.
Yeah, just want to give a quick update. So yesterday was kind of a special day because it was the first time in 3.5 years that Tom Wheeler did not have to get a cancer treatment. So he's had 3 consecutive clean scans, so he's officially in remission. So I just wanted to share that with the group.
Very nice.
Through the chair, can I make one quick, I just want to acknowledge Supervisor McCauley for one thing. I should have mentioned earlier that he actually is one of, I think, 2 local members that are appointed to the state's forest. I'm trying to remember the exact name, but the state forest, I think, resiliency task force. Wildfire task force. Yeah. And I just want to make sure everybody here was aware of that. That's a very important role, and there's a lot of activity going on in that area. I just want to acknowledge him for his local perspective, and just being one of our board members that can also play that role, and really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Nguyen, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the staff for coming out to Visalia's Earth Day Party for the Planet. It was great to see them out there. We had over 300 people attend, which is, not the 1,000 of Fresno, but that's still a great turnout. My only suggestion was a puppy or a Cybertruck for the kids, because those were the 2 most popular, booths out there. But thank you again for showing up.
All right. If there are no more questions or comments, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.